Good afternoon. This is the work session meeting of the Board of Trustees, the Village of Port Jefferson, September 10th, calling the meeting to order at 5:04 p.m. Clerk Perla, will you call, just make sure we have a quorum?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mayor Shepro?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Giuliano?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Franco?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Hill?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Ugrinsky?
Present.
Thank you. With that, we confirm the presence of a quorum and noting that Attorney Moran and Treasurer Gafka are present as well.
Thank you. I'm just going to say, if you're not speaking, please turn your mics off, just to see if we can prevent.
You can't, I know.
Okay.
We'll turn off. All right, let's share this one. Okay, I don't want to knock your polar down. All right, so Trustee Giuliano, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Be honored. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So we have a very busy agenda tonight, and it starts with presentations. Our first presentation tonight will be a demonstration from a group, a Placer AI. Placer AI is an AI tracking app that helps calculate the foot traffic in areas, in geographic areas, and I'm not going to talk about it too much because they're here to do that on our behalf, but what I can tell you is that the bid is seeking this, Business Improvement District is seeking this, this resource, as is the Chamber, and the goal is to partner with the bid and the Chamber through an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, to be able to invest in this as a resource for our commercial district awareness. So we have Jeremy O'Neill, Melanie Gonzalez, who is a director on our Business Improvement District Board, as well as the chair of the Economic Opportunity Task Force, has brought Jeremy, and it's just you today, right, Ryan?
It's both Jeremy and I, correct? It's both Jeremy and I, correct.
So thank you, and without further ado, I will leave it to you to tell us what you're all about and how it can benefit our commercial district.
I appreciate the introduction, everyone. Hello, I'm Ryan. He was filling you guys in with Placer. I'm senior account executive here, and you see Jeremy O'Neill, my sales director, alongside. Always best when there's a couple of us, when there's a lot of you, but that way we can make sure we field your questions. I know we'll save time at the end for that as well. But most importantly, we want to make sure we can deliver to you guys in the time frame that we have. A little background on who we are, ultimately the type of data and capabilities that you are going to have access to once you are customers of Placer. And to do that, I had some calls in time with Melanie ahead of this as well, and we're going to reflect on just looking at your village as a whole and actually picking out a specific, like your Dickens festival that you guys have in comparison, so you can kind of see like overall the granularity we can get to on an overall scale, as well as singling out just the specific days for you guys. Ultimately, real quickly though, I do want to share with all of you guys just a quick background on who Placer is. We're not new to this space. I think it's important for all of you guys to know that. So really credible in that regard. We've been selling commercially since 2017. In that time, we've easily established ourselves as a gold standard for what we do in this space. Really, no one can say that they do everything else exactly like us. So we're excited to be a part of this. But quite a few customers. This number is north of probably 7,000 to 8,000 at this point, growing rapidly. And we do work with ultimately 30 plus industries. So Civic, of course, is where we spend our time. That's where Jeremy and I do, and that's also where you guys would fall. But you see some glimpses of our other customers in like our retail space, commercial real estate. Kind of give you some examples of those customers. You see some here, but this includes like Walmart, your Targets, your Best Buys, like your Googles and Amazons of the world. So from a credibility perspective, I think that says a lot too about our data, our accuracy, and who else we're trusted by as well. And this kind of really elevates on a civic organization perspective, some examples of, cities, economic development organizations, kind of like yourselves. But overall, you guys have multi-use functionality with the tourism aspects, the events that you guys have, the workforce components, parks. There's really quite a lot of uses and value for you guys. We'll get into how we get the data real quickly, but all of our data is accuracy-wise well above 90%, typically between 93 and 98%. Our coverage is national based, and we do not collect personal data. I know we'll get questions at the end, but I want to make sure that privacy is mentioned up front. We do not ever collect personal data, so we never know its use specifically, but we do understand down to a zip code level or even a neighborhood level of where visitation is coming from. So overall, as we jump into where the use cases fall for you guys, I'm not going to PowerPoint you to death. This is a true live demo. We're going to jump into that after this slide, but this slide's super important because it does highlight a lot of use cases from talking to Melanie where there's a lot of value for you guys, the chamber and so forth, whether we're looking to recruit new businesses in spaces that are currently vacant, right? Or also retain the businesses that are there. We can assist with that. Any type of events kind of we'll establish that. We can ultimately tell you who's coming, where they're coming from, where else they like to go and so forth. Similarly to your tourism, where the tourism's coming from versus your local residents and your employees. Any type of marketing, any type of open spaces like parks, your village as a whole, we can look at it. And the impact, when people are coming and spending time, where's that money being spent? And what's the impact on the local businesses so we can support them as well? And keeping them, on the same playing field as some of their competition or maybe the bigger box retailers that can't afford data like this, but you guys are able to give some back to them as well. So with further ado, I'm going to jump in to our platform. And ultimately, there's a couple different ways we can do things, but I think for the sake of time that we have, we're going to look at, again, your village as a whole. And you can see as we've kind of taken this in this regard, we can draw fences around any location. All of our data here at Placer is Placer's data. We're not buying this or getting anything from a third party as well. So it makes it easy for us always to edit, update, and change as needed because we work one-on-one with all of our customers as well. But when we look at one location in this example, this is initially going to pull for like 12 months. You can look at data dating back historically, if you want, all the way back to 2018. So 7 years rolling. So if you want to look at how things were pre-COVID or since these businesses closed or came in, what's the changes over time? Or we used to have this type of entertainment or this type of event. We did this type of marketing and now we changed it. What's the impact? So you can look at a lot of, before and after results. And the data is extremely current. As you can see here, as current as this past Saturday, the 6th of September. So you get a nice range of data, always updating on a daily basis as well. I mentioned the Dickens Festival. So I've loaded these up for the sake of time. Ultimately, we can look at, 12 months of data, 2 years, 3 years plus, or we can look at single days. And in this example, I was able to look at, so you've got a blue and a red metric here. Looking at the dates for your Dickens Festival, last year was December 8th or 7th through the 8th. And when I was with Melanie, I thought this was also interesting for you guys. You can see a comparison just side by side. Like, how did our festival perform, in 2024 versus our festival in 2023? Did the visitors who were coming change as well? Whether we spent money or not, validation for grant funding too. Things like that are also very important for this. So in hindsight, when we do break down the data, you can see clearly straight off the bat, the blue being 24 versus the red in 23, slightly more visitation. So we had a bigger return of visitors that came in 24 versus 23. Overall, similar type of visits, more or less. But this does kind of give you an idea of what you're seeing today for this. Think about any location, right? If you want to know how many days people are spending in market or spending their time there, you can kind of break that down. And I did start with the visitors section here. I'm going to jump back to that too, but I wanted you to kind of get a little taste of this too. You can see the resident population as well and employee population. So this view does allow you to see a little bit of everything. Whether you want to look at just visitors like I was in there initially, or you want to focus on a little bit of everything you guys can do. You have basically the capabilities of going back and forth between them all. When we do look at multiple days, if we looked at the full year as a scale, you can break down, over the course of, in this case, 2 days, we know that the Saturday was busier than the Sunday. If we were just to look at it as an example on this 12 months of data, I just want you guys to see a difference. You can literally see the peaks and valleys throughout the work week, throughout the days. Okay, so Saturdays are your busiest. You can see the Saturdays out of market visitors. I just want you guys to get an idea. So when you're thinking of like different businesses that you want to compare this to and not just a single event, you can look at our data down to a granular daily perspective if you'd like to see it down to a day. We can identify for you the top visited places. So when we look at like the money being spent, whether it's a specific event or just in general, where are people going most when they're coming to your village, right? What's local, what's not local, what's changed, what's not changed. In this example, you can see that Mather Hospital is the most visited place of anybody that came into town over the course of the event. And it was St. Charles Hospital. These are flip-flopped if we look back to 23 versus 24. But again, this is specific to the people that attended that event. We're specific to 2 days of data, that's December 7th and December 8th. But you can, again, think about sponsorship when you know that people are going to your festival. They like to go to Pasta, right? They're the M&T Bank, right? But that's, I mean, there's lots of ways you can come in here and slice and dice this. I know, I didn't know what Ruvo is, but I do now after talking to Melanie, really popular restaurant. But ultimately, it really highlights, again, where people are going, where they're spending their time. You can always highlight specific categories and say, I'm just interested in seeing the dining locations of people where they're coming in town, and it'll highlight just the dining locations. You can do this with hotels, you name it. We can identify, of course, their hourly activity. So what times a day they're spending their time there. It's good for staffing purposes, for safety, security reasons as well, for looking at different events, when it's busiest, when it's slowest. Obviously, the days in the week, we're only looking at this event here, so we can see, this is highly just Saturday and Sunday. If we spread this out over the course of a year, we can see that, busier days probably during the weekend versus the weekday and vice versa. I'll jump back into the visitors tab for you, because what's also important is not just showing how many people are coming, right? But understanding where they're coming from, who's local, right? Even though we're identifying them as residents, but we can really come in here and start to say, okay, what zip codes are they coming from? Locally, we can see locally, Port Jefferson is giving the highest amount of visitation. And then you come in here, East, is that Setauket? Am I pronouncing that correctly? Comes in second and Coram in third. But again, this is nice if you want to see validation of where your visitors, where you think you're coming. Now you have some validation to it. If you wanted to do year-over-year change, if the event happened on the same days, I click on this, or if you just want to do a year-on-year comparison, you can always say, okay, look at how we did versus last year when we impacted and made some changes. We took our extra funding and cleaned up the streets. We added some businesses, right? Or what's the impact? We added a dog park. We added pickleball courts, right? For driving people to us. We can also validate that, the usage of funds, obviously to win those grants for you guys as well, too. This heat map here is also a nice way to really tell the story too. As you can see, it isolates and highlights you guys locally, but it shows everywhere you see color where your visitors are coming from. And again, this is highlighting just your event, right? So we look at the whole year, it's going to obviously look a little bit different. But again, if we look at a different location, but this is going to highlight and validate where people are coming from, where they live, and they're going to that event specifically. How far are they willing to travel to get there? Where you see colors and pockets of red are your more frequent visitors. Again, this is a 2-day event. Some people, they go back more than once. But we can't always get really granular on our platform and get down to that neighborhood level. Hopefully on your guys' screen, you guys can see all those dots, red and blue. But the neat thing about this is I just want to quickly highlight, because it always does come up, like I mentioned, the whole privacy component. And what these dots ultimately represent are your individual home locations of your visitors, down to what we call a census block group. So think about it as a neighborhood, or if you have the zip code and a hyphen after that, that's going to be that extra little granularity that you're going to get with this report. And as I mentioned, we're not collecting that personal data, right? So let's say some visitors that are coming to this event, you're coming from up north here in Bridgeport, if we single out this one dot, you might be thinking, okay, now we're singling out one person. No, we're not. We can't take this dot and drive up to one of your people's houses and knock on your door and say, thanks for coming. How'd you hear about us? But yes, look at the granularity between Mayfair Road and Reed Street. We know, as you can see on the screen there's about 50 plus people coming from this area, between 50 and 99. So again, not isolated to one, but really giving you a more granular approach of, wow, what's our ROI? Were we marketing to this place? Did we even know there was anybody coming from this place? If there is, now we can put some validation to that. Think about the local businesses. Now they can identify where their customer base is coming from, maybe also see where their competition is pulling visitation from. You guys can look at like-minded events as well and see where they're pulling their visitation from as well too. So lots and lots of use cases you guys can ultimately use this type of data and reports for. Demographics. I do want to jump into demographics real quickly here. So in addition to obviously understanding how many people are coming in a given time frame, where they're coming from, what's the demographic makeup of your visitors, of your residents, and of course of your market, out of market visitors. So on our platform, we provide you not just census data that's available on our platform, but we provide you 7 additional data sets. We can break them down, as you can see here, by residents. You can look at them by employees, all of the above. And in addition to census, I wanted to share one additional data point or data set called PopStats. This is derived from the United States Postal Service, and it's pulling both census and IRS data points. And because of that, you can see it's pulling from 2024, so it's more current than your traditional census by a landslide. From that notion, you can see the breakdown here. These are your averages for your residents, your employees, and out-of-market visitors. And this is isolated just to that event. Again, we can look at it for a year span, but for the event, you can really see anything that falls in the middle here to the right is above that average. Disposable income is an additional data point that's not traditionally available under your census. But again, understanding like who you're bringing in. Are we hitting the demographics who you're targeting for those events? Are you hitting the demographics who you're targeting for those specific restaurants and businesses? This will help validate those. And you might say, okay, we're not, but in these other areas, we can see that we are. What are we doing differently in these other areas to kind of drive us closer to getting that demographic and win that over? So couple different ways you guys can use this data for analysis purposes, like the average age, households with children, above average here, for both, the employees and out-of-market visitors that are bringing children to those events. Just to scroll down, I wanted to share with you additional data points. Like income by ethnicity is also another key big driver we hear, because again, it's not available under your traditional census that you guys would have access to. I'm giving you guys a lot in a little bit of time. Melanie, is there anything else that you think I should touch on? I wanted to give you as much of a summary, guys, as a lot of capabilities that really fit into a lot of your use cases. I'm happy to go through a couple more if you think there's anything I missed, and if not, we can open up for Q&A.
I think you covered all the important points. The one thing that I'm so impressed by Placer is the fact that the benefits and the value really are can really benefit the bid in certain respects, the village in others, and the Chamber of Commerce in others. I mean, you're really able to provide a tremendous value to each organization and bring a different set of benefits to each organization. So whether it's business development that we're looking to improve upon, being able to attract developers, different developers, new developers, whether it's to improve and market better for the bid, or whether it's to be able to provide foot traffic data, or even to make village enhancements to infrastructure, sidewalks. I mean, it's just so beneficial to all those 3 entities that it's just so impressive to me. And so that's really, what I wanted to drive home.
Thank you, Melanie.
Hey, this is Mayor Shepro. You can't really see us talking, but I just want to thank you for running through this presentation. And I mean running, you sprinted through it. That's okay. That's okay. I've been dying to see this, and I thank Melanie for really making it come together, and Barbara. I do have just one question today, but I'm sure there'll be more. But I was wondering if the village and the bid, if the village engages this, and that by village I mean the bid and the chamber and the village of Port Jefferson engages in this product, do we have access to competitive data? Like what does Patchogue look like, or what does other villages and areas that we sort of consider in our competitive set. Do we have access to that, or is that an extra user fee?
You ultimately would have access here. The platform is open to nationwide access to your data. You guys, if there's specific criteria that you want to look at, specific businesses or events, or into your point, anything that's competitive in your mind, you guys would ultimately have access to that, yes.
It's amazing.
So if you want to pull a report and ultimately of a specific, restaurant or event that they're having, it's as easy as going onto our platform, selecting that location and pulling up the data and looking at the reports that we looked at today.
Okay. Anybody else?
So knowing that we have access beyond the
Does that
village,
answer your question?
we yes, I think it does. We could also see, not to stray away from the downtown business needs, but we could see how much people in the Port Jeff Long Island Railroad service area are going to Ronkonkoma, which is always a case we're trying to make with MTA.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that would be
Yeah.
helpful.
All right, so I have a question, and maybe I missed it at the very beginning. How do you know? Is it through cell phones, or how do you track it? Through cell phones, okay.
Yep, we didn't go over that, but you're kind of along the right path. So basically, take out your phones. You all have apps on your phones. We partner with some of those apps specifically that require you to opt in and share your location, apps that are running 24/7, typically apps like a weather app, insurance app, fitness app. So we get a panel basically from that. You walk into that location, that property, or you step foot into the polygon that we draw. If you stay in there for a default matter of time, typically it could be 1 minute up to 10 or more. We count you in our panel. A certain amount of that is then extrapolated into our algorithm, and everything else, like we said, is basically 93 to 98% accurate based on that.
Got it, thank you.
Okay, and the business model for your edification is for the first year, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is what I remember hearing, is that there is an $8,000 upfront year one, and does it increase by $2,000 a year after that for 3 years, or?
I believe what you guys were able to get approved is it's only going to go up 1,000 each year.
And so the bid would cover off on half of that, the village would cover half of that. But year one, the chamber has a grant for $2,000 from Discover Long Island that they have committed they would utilize to support this, the implementation of Placer AI for Port Jeff. So that's how the cost would break out, and the goal would be to develop an MOU between the three organizations and giving the mayor permission to sign the MOU. So the MOU hasn't been written yet, but that would be the next step. Any other questions for Placer?
Who would be able to, and this might be a question for us, I mean, is this something that would be available to all three entities, or is like one
Yes.
going to be the main?
Good question, and the chamber has agreed to be the administrator of the services.
Mhm.
So it doesn't mean that we all, I don't, how many user IDs do you allow for?
Off the top of my head, if I recall correctly, and Melanie, you can correct me if you can, I'm almost certain we have it worked out where there's two. There's one for the chamber and Melanie for the bid. That was what was approved on because of the price point that you guys are at as well. You guys are getting a really, really, really good deal.
If you say so. Okay, all right. So thank you very much for running us through this demo. Thank you, Melanie, for arranging it again. And we will be back in touch as soon as possible.
Fantastic, guys.
Thank you.
When you finalize, I'll make sure it's in your hands as well. Thank you all.
Take care, guys.
Recording.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. All right, next up on our agenda. Wait, what? What's funny? Tell me, I want to laugh. What are you guys chuckling about? All right, next up, we have a presentation by the Tree Committee. So Stella Cohen, led by Stella Cohen.
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Trustees. We will try also to run through this as quickly as we possibly can. As the Tree Committee, we are obliged to educate our residents for tree maintenance, tree beautification, tree growth, and as such, I'm going to ask Holly Fils-Aimé, who came up with the original idea, to start us off with an introduction. Thank you.
Hello, and good evening to the Board of Trustees and the Mayor and everyone in the audience. So I did come up with the idea myself. I've had lots of help since then, including producing this program, which was quite a production. So where did my idea for the Tree Committee educational project come from? When people ask me where I grew up, I say in the woods. We lived in the woods in an isolated part of New Hampshire. It had 1,000 people in 42 square miles. Compare that to Port Jeff. It was the woods. And literally we had one stoplight. While playing in the woods, my sister and I would often visit an old oak tree that had grown up by a stone wall before the second growth trees grew over. Facing no competition from other trees, it grew outward instead of just upwards. It's called a wolf tree, by the way. I learned that recently. The huge branches were as big as the trunks of the now mature trees around it. When we were teenagers, we and our mother encircled the trunk with our arms to measure it, and our hands just touched. It was 16 feet in circumference. I have often thought how much history that tree had seen from the founding of our town to the present. Fast forward to today. I live in an enchanted village, as I've heard it called, where many stately trees provide shade, produce oxygen, prevent erosion, provide crucial habitat for animals, and keep our drinking water clean. But despite prohibitions in our tree code, I have watched whole yards full of useful and healthy trees be clear-cut and the trees tossed away like unfashionable furniture, only to be replaced by 3 stick-like saplings. Why? They have too many leaves and acorns. It's a lot of work, and so on. That's the complaint. So how do we prevent the clear-cutting of village lots by uninformed residents who are thinking of their own convenience, not the environment, not other residents, and so on?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, I'm sorry. I touched something. I'm just on the first page.
Just the cover page.
Gotcha.
One more, back one. Sorry.
There we go.
Yeah.
Technology is my enemy. I already said that.
Now what?
There we go.
Okay.
So just to go back a little bit, how do we prevent the clear cutting of village lots by uninformed residents thinking only of their own convenience, not of the environment, of other residents, of children, and so on? And then I got an idea. Through their children. Children are sometimes learn more easily and become wiser than adults. They only need to be taught to love the usefulness as well as the beauty of trees through the schools, through the libraries, and through our other educational programs. And here we are today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Shepro, Board of Trustees, Clerk Perillo, Attorney Moran, and Treasurer Gafka. One of the things that we're doing to implement this is going to be a walk throughout the village for about 1.5 miles, maybe a little bit more. We anticipate it should take anywhere between an hour and possibly up to 2 hours, depending upon the number of people who register to take the walk. We're going to point out some of the unique diversity of trees in the village with an emphasis on natural trees native to Port Jefferson. Also some other trees which are native to North America but are not necessarily native to Long Island and were brought here by the various seafarers who called Port Jefferson home. And we'll also probably point out some unique foreign species which are decorative and have been brought in by landscapers. We're going to use primarily sidewalks. We will have some street crossings, and but it basically, as long as we keep the group small, we don't anticipate any problems. Any questions?
Just about the date.
The date is going to be October 4th.
Oh, okay.
Bob Laverty, who will be leading this, he couldn't be here tonight. He's going to be a leader, and I'm pretty much designated as his replacement if for some reason he couldn't come on that date. And I also anticipate being the sweep, which is basically a safety precaution for any walks or hikes where you have a diverse group of people and have road crossings. Although we would hope to get between 10 and 15 people, we can probably easily accommodate 20. Much beyond 20 becomes problematic, but we could do a staggered start and actually have two groups.
Do you have a time targeted for start time?
I believe 10 o'clock is what we projected. We're going to start at the library, and we will ultimately end up at the boathouse.
Great. Thank you, Chuck.
So our second event is going to be in January. As you notice, we're kind of following the seasons of the year. We had our fall with Bob Larrabee and the trees turn color. Now we have tree-inspired art, which it's an art show that would take place inside the Village Center from January 15th to 29th. I already talked to Francine Moshe, and she said we could have the third floor as our space. We are not really sure yet exactly how the works will be presented. It will be school children. We're thinking for kindergarten to 8th grade with the help of the art teachers who can get together and help the students learn some of the things that will be useful for this project. My idea right now is to ask them to create a poster, not just a beautiful work of art, but a poster that would help other people understand what trees do for us. Because one thing that I really like to stress when I'm talking about trees is that if you don't live in the country, you don't realize what you see at the top is mirrored in the ground. And when a tree that's not rotten in the trunk tips over, there's a huge disc of earth and roots that are there that we pay almost no attention to in general. So that that would be something that maybe a student could stress when they do one of these posters. We would include, who's included, would be any child of elementary school age in Port Jefferson or Belterre. I know that we have homeschooled students. I think that if you're homeschooling your child, it's not a difficult thing to come up with the principles for copy on a poster and designs on a poster, or perhaps we could ask some of the, an art teacher to make themselves available for an afternoon to students who are not in the elementary school. We may be using easels, which is a nice portable way to present artworks, and we would like to have a judging, make this a competition, because I think it would encourage parents and children to work for this, because that's something that can be, yes, children are creating resumes at this age. Maybe you want to get into private school, or maybe it's just a cool thing to put in your school folder, but we think that's better than even like a check, is to have a recognition by the Village of Port Jefferson. And as for the judging, I think there should be at least 1 or 2 professional artists, perhaps a member of the Board of Trustees. Certainly none of the teachers who are working on this that's a conflict of interest. And so a lot of these things are things that we're going to be fleshing out and giving more detail to later. Any questions? Okay, great, thank you.
Hello there. My name's Avril Coakley. And coming into our spring events, we have an early spring event where we would be doing a maintenance/planting project. Our ideal location would be that triangular pollinator garden that's by the High Street School. Everyone's familiar with Spring and High. We've actually done actually Bob Larrabee is, I have to give him credit. He's out there. He's done a lot of cleanup. So we would like to add some more native pollinator plants, make it more of a butterfly garden, make it a little more attractive. Of course, all the plantings would be native and low pollinator attractions, but we're also privy to keeping the height low, as the visual is very important for motorists there. So we wouldn't obviously put any shrubs that would get too high. So that's for that project. So that, of course, would be on a weekend day. So parking would be at the school. Safety, of course, maybe we would need some DPW cones to make sure that people are aware that there's a project going on there. I don't foresee people really being very close to High Street. We can pretty much stay on the Spring Street and that little dog leg that comes down.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions about that project? We would encourage all community to participate, anybody that's interested, including children. And then bringing it up is, of course, the Arbor Day, which would be our 3rd. We have a date, and it gets bigger every year. So, of course, we would have our poet laureates for the school participation. We might, at that time, wish to announce the winners of the art competition, for example, make it a little bit more inclusive of the children. We were thinking of having 1 winner per grade. So they would be given all certificates, maybe signed by the village. That's sort of an idea.
Absolutely.
Okay. And that really concludes our 4 events. And the idea is to, do these first 4, figure out what works and doesn't work, and then do another 4 every year. Any questions?
So does this at all weigh into our ability to retain the Tree City?
Yes. This is
Designation?
fulfilling our own committee's mission, along with all the checking of the boxes for Tree City, yes.
Okay.
Sure.
So this absolutely comes from the Tree City USA almost directly. The Tree City USA wants the whole municipality, residents, government, schools, libraries to participate in what we do, to really spread the awareness of all the things that we want to do in urban forest preservation. Planting no forest is too small is what the Tree City USA taught us. And all the details about preventing erosion with their roots, storing carbon in their trunks, providing irreplaceable habitat and food for many animal species in their leaves and branches, teaching residents how to effectively care for existing trees. We, the divining, is such a great campaign that has, I think, I'm seeing vines cut that I didn't cut or Bob didn't cut. And that is all, and I love seeing them dying, I look up and I'm like, oh yay, they died. Yeah, that's all. Thank you. Thank you so much. And, I'm really appreciative that you have us here. So kind of gives us a boost in energy and,
Well, thank you all for your time and effort in putting this PowerPoint presentation together. Holly, for your concept. Love the name. It's an education program, and I think we can all learn something. And Stella, Avril, Janice, Chuck, thank you all for your work. And Bob, who's absent, for his technical expertise and his involvement. And this is a no-brainer from me as one of 5, but I think it has everything it needs to be successful. And can't wait to work with you on it, and do whatever we can to support it. And Bob, Jay, thanks for bringing it to us tonight.
I just want to chime in that this group has been unbelievable. They meet constantly. It is a very active group and active committee. And it was a fantastic presentation. Thank you very much for putting it together. And I think every single proposal is a great one, and it only will help the village between stopping flooding, just enhancing the village. I think it's a fantastic proposal. So thank you very much for doing all this.
Do we need a formal approval of it, or to go forward? No? Okay. You do?
You do.
All right.
100%.
thank you.
Thank you very much. You don't want to stay for the rest of the meeting? Come on.
Gonna go celebrate.
We have some really interesting presentations. We do have some interesting presentations if you want to stick around. So you're certainly welcome to. Next up, Sylvia, can you remind me who's next?
Yes, Mayor, we have a presentation by our building and planning department.
Okay. Andrew Freeling, Dan Gross, and Parker Moore. So a few months back, I had asked the planning department to pull together a review and analysis of our storefront vacancies and our storefront inhabitants too. So this has morphed into something that is very interesting and really connected to the Pacer AI, I think. Placer AI app, like all these pieces are coming together at a good time. We were going to ask planning to also give us an update, I asked them to do an audit and to give us an update on the comprehensive plan, but we're going to postpone that tonight. We're not going to do that tonight, given all the presentations we have, and we're not in a mode of urgency for that. And but I'm grateful to the team for putting some thought into this and taking the initiative to go out in the field and really do some reconnaissance for this. So without further ado, again, I say, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Shepro. Thank you, members of the Board of Trustees, Clerk Perillo, and Treasurer Gafka, and Attorney Moran, and members of the audience. As the mayor did indicate, during our work with various committees and boards, it became apparent that certain empirical data was necessary to underpin our observations and our thoughts about what's going on in the village with regard to vacant spaces and how we can fill them. We had some discussions with the planning board and applicants on the ability to fill these vacant spaces, so we wanted to get some data out there. It was the suggestion of the mayor, as she indicated, to conduct some empirical studies, and we started with this vacant storefront inventory and a review of select commercial business districts in the county of Suffolk. We did a few reports. This one is, and they're all near release. This is the first one that we would like to show you. I'm going to go a little quickly through it, but this is one of our first studies. Let's see, okay. So it's all about the data. And fortunately, we have on board Parker Moore, who is our planning aide, who is, while I am a computer illiterate, he is very literate with computer and data and the ability to construct the various databases that we're using. So this is a quick peek, and I'm going to ask Parker to go through our live database. The intent is that these databases will be shareable to the public as well as all the boards and committees. And basically, it inventories the vacant storefronts and keeps a running track. This is a live document, so we are out there on a weekly basis updating the data. So as soon as I show it to you, it's going to be old because there are new businesses coming in and unfortunately some businesses that vacate their space. So let me introduce Parker Moore. Also, Dan Gross is also computer literate, where I am an illiterate to that. And Dan helped us put together some of the early foundation data for the study. We inventoried what is known as a business analyst tool, and Dan is versed in that tool and versed in census data mining and things like that. So we had the two of these gentlemen working together, excuse me, to prepare the data set. So let me step aside and let Parker first talk a little bit about our inventory spreadsheets.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. The first resource that we have access to when it comes to tackling our vacant storefronts, the first access that we, oh my God. The first resource that we have access to is the vacant storefront inventory. And it was originally sourced through our tax roll with all of the tax map information for district, section, block, and lot, as well as ownership information and the exact property address. So what we did by a field study using in-person, I would say, business site inspection, in unison with GIS Viewer as sourced by Suffolk County, we went through to each parcel that was within our C1 and C2 districts and parsed out which ones were vacant, non-vacant, and the identity of current and past identities of businesses. This would be able to basically visualize what spaces are empty, how much we have, what kind of different businesses are available that could come in, and what we already have here. So basically, what would be useful for filling in those blank spots. I don't think there's anything else for that specifically. There's a lot of information.
So on that document, on that spreadsheet, it's labeled environmental, economic opportunity task force.
Yes.
That is a list, and how many pages is that spreadsheet?
It comes in an Excel format, but it usually prints out to around 5 pages
Okay.
worth of information. There's like almost 200 different individual storefronts that are, over about 100 distinct lots that have been inventoried for data scrying or things of similar nature.
And the yellow line indicates a vacancy?
Yes.
Okay. So can we look at this spreadsheet in its entirety, or?
Yes, you can.
I know it's for demonstration purposes on this slide, but.
Yes.
Anyone
Anyone would be able to access it, and there's a legend that tells you what all the different colors mean for ease of access for anyone viewing it.
Okay, and the plan is to have it up on the website? Or?
The plan is to have it up on the department website.
Okay.
Any other questions regarding the VSI spreadsheet? If not, I'll. So I'll go on towards the Appendix B of the Select Commercial Business District Survey. So with the vacant storefront inventory, we want to compare that data to other select surveyed villages across Suffolk County. So using a combination of ArcGIS, Google Maps, and in-person window shopping or surveying, so to speak, we were able to go through these select commercial business districts throughout the select villages and I would say quantify and organize them into 9 distinct categories, which I believe, let me see if I can see them here. We have essential retail, experience-based, food and beverage, institutional, service-oriented, professional, commercial, specialty retail, and standard retail. And anything that wouldn't fall into those 8 categories would go into the 9th of other, but there wasn't a lot, as you can see on the bottom there.
So we really do want to see these numbers in these categories, right?
Yes.
And I don't know if you can, if you can find a quick resource for us to be able to see that. And if so, let's work on getting that for now, but if not, and you have other things to show us, are you able to grab it real quick on a jump drive or something like that and let us take a look at it in real time, or?
Yeah, I should be able to do that really quick.
Okay.
While Park is doing that, Dan can talk a little bit about his role.
Okay.
Let's go back for a second.
All right, so yeah, as you guys might remember back from May, I believe, or April or May, where we originally came before you about this project, the first tool we kind of started with, as almost like a foundation piece as part of this, is that business analyst tool. Oh, sorry about that. It's a business analyst tool, which is a software that's done by Esri, the big GIS company, and it basically takes a combination of Esri's own data, and U.S. Census data down to the block group level, which is about the second smallest geographic level that they take this type of data from, and is able to do a market analysis on select geographic areas for, and it can show you current demand, expected demand, potential needs of a community, and it kind of generates this whole report based on both the demographic conditions and also the available markets, storefronts, and businesses available in that district. So when we originally did this report, we focused on the C1 district, which is our downtown, and the C2 district, our South Village. And the C2 was a little bit different for this analysis because we also wanted to incorporate some of the areas around it. So we had some of the RM, some of the residential pieces that kind of connect, and the PO was in it as well, just to kind of see how much the C2 is integrated with those, or if there's any differences. The C1 at the time is just purely meant to the C1, but we do want to expand it in the future to include some of those surrounding neighborhoods.
Sorry, I don't want to get you off your flow, but could you just use like more plain language terms? Because
yes,
I'm having to translate in my head as you go, so I know folks at home watching are probably struggling more than me. So just for your own sake, it would be helpful if you, instead of just saying C1, just say by the train station or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, sure. No, thank you. I apologize for that. But yeah, so yeah, I guess there's clarity. I'll say the C1 is really our downtown district, right? Focusing on Main Street, East Main Street, Barnum Avenue, kind of, what you kind of consider our harbor front. Where the C2, it's our South Village. It's kind of the area with a lot of new developments coming down, North Country Roads there. Also Main Street. The area we extend into it also kind of includes, I don't remember if we included Mather, the hospital, but it does include down North Country Road a bit. And also some of the residential pieces that are up there, and some of those multifamily condominiums were included as part of that that analysis in that section.
Okay. And PO is professional office?
Yes.
And RM is the residential?
Yeah, RM is the multifamily.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
So while Parker is getting that together for us to look at it live, I can go through the rest of the slides because the data that we have generated produces some of these results. So if you just look at the top right on here, you can see the percent vacancies in the two commercial business districts. In the commercial 1 district down by the harbor front, you have 15 vacant storefronts and 114 storefronts that were not vacant. That turns out to 9.4% vacancy in the harbor front area, the commercial C1 district down in the harbor front. Up in the South Village, in the C2 commercial district, as described by Dan, you had 23 vacant storefronts and 30 filled storefronts. That turned out to be a 43% vacancy in the South Village commercial business district, we call the C2. All total in the village, there were 38 vacant storefronts, which is, between the two commercial districts, a 19% vacancy rate.
Question on that. Do the vacancies include properties that are currently vacant but spoken for? So like, I'm thinking Conifer 2, no one's in there, but there's a plan.
At the time of the survey, they are vacant, so we
Okay.
list them as vacant, even though we know something's coming in, but like I indicated, we go out on a regular basis, so as soon as that becomes occupied, we'll occupy it. If the building comes down, then it's not a building.
Gotcha.
So, the database changes,
Mhm.
depending on when you look at it.
It might be helpful to maybe make a third category for that situation.
Okay.
Just so if I'm looking to open up shop, now I see, oh, all these other things are coming online. Don't wait, kind of thing.
And then Andy, just a quick question. Have you looked at, like, how does that total vacancy rate and taking into account what Trustee Hill just mentioned, those remaining vacancies and that percentage, how does that compare to surrounding towns?
So the vacancy that we have
Say
at 19%,
Patchogue or-
the county-wide vacancy rate, I believe, is around 8%. So we have a very high vacancy rate, but that is heavily weighted because of the blighted C2 district.
Mhm.
So you're referencing like the speculation parcels that are being speculated right now.
Right,
So that would be interesting to see.
So I should mention that this PowerPoint presentation is coming out of our report, and our report goes into much more detail about blocks of storefronts that are currently being analyzed and speculated on. So we can identify that. We also did, as Parker mentioned, we also did a random survey of 12 commercial business districts in the county. I say random because we were trying to look for well-defined commercial business districts. So we picked 12. We started with all the ports, and then we picked other ones that kind of, and very hard to match Port Jefferson in geography, but we selected 12, and that's how we generated the county-wide numbers. So we looked at, in the pie charts above, just show the percentages of the selected CBDs and the types of percentages of different uses, as Parker discussed in those categories. And then we compared that to the village of Port Jefferson. So I'm not going to do that, but you can look at, for example, food and beverage. County-wide, food and beverage comes up about 24% of all the uses in those CBDs that we looked at. By comparison to the village of Port Jefferson, we have 34% of our storefronts in food and beverage. So we're ahead of the curve with regard to food and beverage, and that happens to be one of the most popular and productive business types post-COVID is food and beverage, notwithstanding the delivery service industry, which goes to food and beverage places and pull it up. So the food delivery might have actually helped the restaurant industry maintain itself and then survive through COVID. When we look at some of the successful business trends throughout the county.
Andy, could I just interrupt
Sure.
you? This slide before, could you just give us an idea of like what is an experience-based business? Or what would be the institutional business?
Sure, that could be anything from a place that has pinballs. You go in and you play pinball, or an experience, a escape room, for example, something that is not a service, but you go in and you do something.
Institutional would be like a bank or something like that, along those lines?
Institutional would be like the hospitals.
Okay.
Government buildings, things like that. So Port Jefferson is heavily weighted in institutional. In our commercial business district, we have 10%, but oddly enough, countywide, most of the CBDs have 16% institutional, and that might include public buildings, that might include cancer center, for example, or something like that.
And then while we're at it, what's the difference between specialty retail and standard retail?
Good question.
All right.
We'll get Parker back for that one. You know, standard retail is, let's say you go into a convenience store, for example, or something like that, a stationery store, that would be a standard retail. A specialty retail might be an herbalist or some sort of accessory used to maybe yoga or something like that. Those are specialty types of retail. Okay, so there are successful business trends that we noticed throughout some of the CBDs in Suffolk County. We compared, for example, we just pulled two up just to show you what we did. We took Greenport, we took Northport, and we went through and we inventoried all the businesses that they had in their commercial business districts. We listed them. We attributed, and I should say Parker attributed values to these things, and we were able to create pie charts and bar graphs with that. And you can see that the total business types in all of Suffolk County in the CBDs that was most prevalent was food and beverage. But there were other of those categories that do pretty good. Professional office was doing pretty good. Service-oriented businesses did pretty well. And then if we look at Port Jefferson Village and we look at essential retail and experience base, you could see that food and beverage, as we indicated before, is the largest occupier of storefronts in the village. And you can see service-oriented type businesses, barbershops, beauty parlors, salons, things like that, ranked pretty much second, and it looks like standard retail ranked third. And you can go along the line, you can see how Port Jefferson then breaks down. So we were looking then and the whole idea is if we have these vacant storefronts, and we know what's successful in commercial business districts, maybe there's a way to connect them through our various committees and initiatives for economic development. So we looked at some of the retail storefronts that had multiple locations in the CBDs around the county, and we indicated that the ones that showed up more commonly in the various CBDs. 7-Eleven had 5 locations. Maybe there's an opportunity to bring a 7-Eleven into the village of Port Jefferson. If we all thought that was a good idea, we had an appropriate vacant space, we could do that. Ace Hardware had 3 locations. Chase Bank has 10 locations throughout the 12 CBDs that we looked at, commercial business districts that we looked at, and the asterisk indicates which ones are found in Port Jefferson. CVS Pharmacy had 10 locations throughout the CBDs. Dime Bank had 4 locations. Dunkin' Donuts had 3 locations. Fame and Rebel had 3 locations. Goldberg's Famous Bagels shows up in 3 locations in the CBDs, but they're not in Port Jefferson. Why not? Maybe there's a vacant space that we could market Goldberg's and have them come in. Similarly, Starbucks is in the village, but Stop and Shop is not in the village. They're in 3 locations. And Teachers Federal Credit Union is in 3 locations, not in the village. So we looked at all these things. We provided a long list of those. This is just a piece of it, a long list of those businesses that are showing up in the commercial business districts. But I know you want to get to the data. I know you want to see how that data is manipulated. So we kept it short for questions and answers, and hopefully when we go through the data set, you'll have some questions. Parker, you ready to go?
Real quick, the demographic data that's itemized on page 3. Where was that pulled from?
That was, so that was taken from that business analyst tool.
Okay.
And based on the select, the same study areas we described before. And it used the most recent census and something called the American Community Survey, which is almost like an estimated interim census that they do. It's a little more detailed throughout shorter periods, so.
Okay. We might have a new resource pretty soon.
Yeah.
It's interesting data, though. I mean, I find the demographics very unexpected, almost.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hello again. I'm just bringing up the vacant storefront inventory. Okay, what is going on here?
Thanks, Microsoft 11.
Not today.
All right, as you can see here, we've got a whole lot of colors, a whole lot of information. I suppose I can start by just going along the top. So you can see it's the vacant building / storefront inventory of 2025. And our first section here is the C1 district, or our downtown harborfront district. So we've got our parcel ID, which is just the section, block, and lot number. We've got our municipality and zip code, which was provided from the tax roll resource that this was derived from originally. The full address, the acreage, the land use code, the vacancy status, and then the current building occupancy. So we can go down the list here and take a look at what we've got.
Parker, I'm not sure if you heard the comment from Trustee Hill, but he was wondering if there was a way for us to indicate that a building was, let's say, for want of a better term, targeted for development or occupancy. Is that in the notes column on the side by any chance?
That would be correct.
It is in the notes column?
Yes.
Okay, so in order to answer that question, if we are aware that a building is in transition, it's in the notes column on the far right of the database. Thank you.
So for instance, here in the C2 district, there's several lots that are the site for the application that was proposed for the Baxter development. Like it said here in the notes section.
So 60 North Country, is that the corner of Oakland Avenue and North Country Road?
That would be correct.
And there's a Chase Bank application in?
Um,
Or that's a former Chase Bank location?
yes. There's a pre-submission, what, for?
What, 60 North?
Yes.
I'm not sure exactly who's going in. They're currently have a pre-submission for to convert it from office and medical office to purely office space, and they could connect 60 North Country to the adjacent bigger office complex that's right next door. It's 68, 70 North Country Road and 72.
Okay, so it's not on the, it's actually right across the street from 75. Is that?
That is correct.
Okay. The hospital.
Yes.
So it's the Fry
Yep.
complex?
Right. Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
all right.
Oh, we've got ads now.
Whose laptop is this? You don't have Microsoft?
It just updated to 11 over the last 2 days. It's been updating.
Oh.
So along the bottom of each commercial business, or not commercial district, or just our commercial district sections, we have the draft date, which would be the most recent date of collection for the vacancy data. And we have the total vacancies and non-vacancies. We've got 15 currently vacant lots in the C1 district out of the total 129 that we have. And then for our C2 zoned district, let's see right here, we've got 24 vacant and 30 non-vacant for a total of 54 lots in our C2 district. Last
Okay.
updated on the 8th of September. Any questions about it?
Just let us look for a second. Just like,
Parker does gone. I mean, we thought they were going to occupy it and they're not, or they were in that location and are no longer.
Are you referring to Earth Dog?
Yeah.
It was proposed, but it didn't go through. That's just a secondary note for the previous or potential proposed business to go into that lot.
those are all former tenants.
Yeah, I know
Yes.
New York State Tires and.
Fireplace.
And
yeah.
empty lot is exactly how it sounds. I'm guessing there's no structure there.
Nope.
So again, not exactly vacant, right?
Yes.
If we're just so folks don't
Right,
see
not a vacant building, right.
half of everything up there is empty, because it's not. There's just more nuance to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe an alternate color for those that are already earmarked or, you know, that way we can drive those metrics, to your point earlier.
Can we look at the first, at C1
Yes.
downtown?
So while Parker's doing that, again, the idea is if Goldberg Bagels wanted to locate in the village of Port Jefferson, they could pull up this database, and if they wanted to build their own building, they could call up the vacant lots. We'll colorize it, and they'll be able to call up vacant lots if they wanted to build their own building, or if they were looking for certain space. We do want to go back and try and put in square footage of the vacant space and stuff like that. That's very labor intensive, and every time one changes, it could change
It's a
the
lot of
layout
updating.
and the square footage. But we wanted to make it as useful for the speculators coming into the village as our economic development initiatives, trying to market those places and say, look, we have these spaces here that you can come into. So we want to work it both ways.
So you probably noticed that some addresses are repeated, and that would just be that multiple storefronts found at the same address or tax lot would be shown as well.
And is that so? That actually another interesting thing. So the Gap building's on there twice.
Yes.
Is that 2 vacancies or 1?
I believe the Gap building there's 2 separate tax lots in that
Okay.
one property.
So we're at the so again, back to the vacancies are actually much better than the
I think
the
I only
rawest
counted it as
version of the numbers.
I think
would
I only
suggest.
counted the Gap as 1.
Okay,
For purpose of counting.
got it. Okay.
Above Portside, that's the old Toast.
Yes.
I'm told there's speculating going on there actively right now, too.
That would be nice.
Yeah, yes, it would. And that old bank, it'd be interesting to see how long the vacancy has been in months. If that's possible.
Any questions or want me to zoom in or scroll to something else or?
So we'll use this data with other data that we collect, what's the best use for this? If you present this to developers, how would you utilize it to make it most informative for them?
Well, the database is there for them to peruse, so they could look at that. They could contact us and say, I'm looking to locate my business. I want to be on Main Street. I want to be, walkable to the train station. We can pull up the database and try and find vacant spots and direct them to those property owners. We're not making deals. We're just directing people back and forth so they can do their own deals. So that's essentially, if they're not looking at it themselves or they want an interpretation, they can call the department and we would help them interpret the data set or direct them to locations where they could talk to the property owners. There are any number of ways that it could be used. The Economic Opportunity Task Force could use it in outreach. The BID could use it for various different initiatives or studies that they do. So we don't know all the possibilities that could be used, but fundamentally it was to connect economic development opportunities together.
Okay, anybody else have questions? Yes.
Okay, so the one thing I wanted to mention too is and there's always a perception too when you see vacancies, there's a concern that there might not be demand for opportunity or something might be fleeting from an area. But the one thing is we had that business, we talked about the business analyst tool, and it showed that despite what you might see or how it might be perceived initially, we had released a lot of demand for the services that both Port Jeff currently has, like the retail, the restaurants, there's a demand for grocery stores, but also in a lot of broader categories. They mentioned personal service and professional office. And I don't have the table in front of me, but there was, especially with the South Village, there was they do it by numbers, and they tell you about the current market demand versus the expected by 2029. And it was pretty substantial in a lot of those categories despite the current status. So I think what we're trying to do too is with the report, with the vacancy analysis, with even the select commercial business inventory of all the other villages to kind of show, this is the current, where Port Jeff currently stands based on what we could pull together, but here's what's actually possible and what the numbers are telling us could potentially happen here. So we're trying to kind of frame it to show it's not necessarily, a bad thing, but it's a way to kind of get insights into what potential is actually here and how you could expand off it and where investment could potentially lie throughout the village. So.
Yep, I agree. I like it. Yeah.
I can see how this tool plus the Placer AI melt together and be a tremendous tool for the village.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the more data we have.
Yeah.
And the more data we can present to speculators and potential merchants, that is, I think that sells it for you. Anecdotal information is great, but if we can support it with the numbers, foot traffic, and feedback from the community, that's something that will really, I think, help us advance our goal to fill these spaces, have these spaces be filled, and the business model is supported through data. So we're 75% there, I think, maybe 65% there, right? There's more data to gather, and Placer is going to help us get closer to the finish line.
Does the commission get mentioned Chamber of Business?
Yes, they would
Can you
have
repeat
access.
the question, Andy, please?
The question was, is this information available to the Chamber and the Business Improvement District? Yes, it is, and they're very excited to have access to this data, and to the extent that they use it for their own purposes, I don't know what that will be yet, but they are anxious to look at this data as well.
And it's on the agenda for the planning board's meeting, too?
It is on the agenda for the planning board, and would be happy to do it to the EO, the Economic Opportunity Task Force, to the bid, to the chamber. We'll go on the road and we can do it.
It's a road show.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're committed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. No, it just was feedback. There was a lot of feedback, so we just decided to share.
I just have to adjust this. It's now mute. You have to hold. I'll fix that as soon as I get through.
Okay. All right, our fourth presentation today, actually, it's an update from our, on the Ethics Code, and we're inviting Stephen Leventhal, our Ethics Counsel, and Elizabeth Kidney to come on up, Secretary to the Ethics Board. So just for a little background, we met with Ethics Counsel, and I'm sure he'll give us this briefing as well. But we wanted to take a closer look at the requirements for who fills out a financial disclosure form among the volunteer groups of the village, and what exactly those was included, and how the financial disclosure form was laid out. So format and content. And so we asked our attorney to go back to the original financial disclosure form and take a look at it and see if there's a way that could kind of streamline the questions and make them more user-friendly, I guess, is a word that I would use, but I'm sure you have the better vocabulary where this is concerned.
I'm not so sure, but thank you. And thank you for having me. I want to apologize to those who I'm standing behind. I'm doing that only so that I will be at the microphone.
We're not using the power, we're not using our, so you can pull your chairs up and.
Grab a mic.
Yeah.
Sit in my seat. Use my mic. I'll sit over here.
Elizabeth, come on up.
Thank you. As I was listening to the earlier presentations, I was envious of the group that was here to speak about a topic that everyone likes, trees. I'm here to speak about a topic that no one likes, financial disclosure. I'd like to begin with a little bit of history. The Ethics in Government Act of 1987 created the requirement of annual financial disclosure for the officers and employees of municipalities having populations in excess of 50,000. It created a temporary state commission on local government ethics to administer the program and other aspects of local municipal ethics. That temporary state commission has since sunset out of existence, but while it existed, first I must say that the 1987 statute included in the statute a terrible, horrible, miserable financial disclosure form. The law required local municipalities to adopt their own financial disclosure form and implement it through a Board of Ethics by 1990, or else be required to use the state form, submit their forms to the temporary state commission rather than to their own local Board of Ethics. Since everyone wanted to maintain local control, most municipalities rushed out to adopt their own financial disclosure law, and in doing so, they incorporated the terrible, horrible, miserable state form. While the temporary state commission was still in existence, a municipality, the town of Chautauqua, developed their own alternate form that was a little bit kinder and gentler than the state form, and submitted it to the temporary commission for review with the question of whether that form would meet the minimum requirements of the state law. The temporary state commission tinkered with it and said, as we've modified it, it will. The financial disclosure form that's currently in use in the village of Port Jefferson is modeled on that Chautauqua form that was approved by the Temporary State Commission. I added, over the years in other municipalities that I represent, I added 2 questions addressing the scandals that occurred with the Speaker of the Assembly and the Majority Leader of the State Senate a number of years ago, having to do with customers and clients doing business with the municipality. So this was the first year of implementation of a financial disclosure program in the village of Port Jefferson, and it's very common, I would say almost universal, for there to be pushback in the first year from people who are unhappy about being subject to the requirement of financial disclosure. Nevertheless, after feedback, and normally the experience has always been that after the first year, once people have gone through a cycle and filled out the form and seen that it was not that difficult to do and not that invasive, the resistance subsides. Nevertheless, as I mentioned, the state law requires disclosure in municipalities having populations in excess of 50,000. The village of Port Jefferson does not have a population in excess of 50,000, and therefore is free under state law to design its own code of ethics, impose whatever requirements it chooses to impose. It doesn't need to adopt a form approved by the Temporary State Commission. So with that in mind, the mayor asked me to review the disclosure form to try to make it more user-friendly and really, in a sense, more relevant. And I did that with the idea in mind that the legitimacy of a disclosure requirement, in my view, can be measured by how closely it relates to your obligation under the Code of Ethics. So, for example, one of the main functions of local government is land use regulation. I think it is perfectly legitimate to ask people to disclose, ask officers and employees of the village to disclose the location of real property that they own in the village or within a certain perimeter of the village that pulls the property into the village's jurisdiction. So it is not legitimate, in my view, to ask a village employee to disclose the location of land that they own in Hawaii or Florida or Maine. It doesn't bear on their obligations under the Code of Ethics, for example, not to engage in official conduct when they have a conflict of interest. So that was kind of the overriding philosophy, and because the purpose of disclosure is twofold. First, to inspire public confidence in government by giving members of the public a check on recusals, and secondly, to remind officers and employees of the village on at least an annual basis of where their conflicts of interest might lie. So we did 3 things with the form. And we made an effort to simplify, to clarify, and to moderate the form to some degree. And I'm going to go through the form now that is proposed, the form that is before you as a proposed amendment of the disclosure form. And when we drafted the Code of Ethics, the one thing first of all, we recognized at the time that the Code of Ethics was a work in progress, and that over time, through experience, we would review it and perhaps tinker with it. So in drafting the Code of Ethics, we also provided that the disclosure form could be modified by resolution of this board rather than have the necessity of a local law, which is, as you well know, a more cumbersome process. So the first thing that we did is eliminate the disclosure of the categories of amount. I don't care. We're not interested in how wealthy you are. We want to know whether you have a conflict of interest, whether that conflict of interest is $10 or $10,000. We want to know about conflicts and eliminate them. The dollar amounts, in my view, are unimportant and irrelevant from that perspective. The other thing, the next thing we did was alter the layout. There were lengthy paragraphs that were difficult to read, difficult to understand, because they just had too much information in a single paragraph, single-spaced paragraph. What we did is we took those paragraphs, we created bullet points for clarity rather than, to make it more user-friendly. We also tinkered with some of the language and cleaned up language a bit. The next thing we did was eliminate a couple of questions. We eliminated the requirement to disclose any deferred income that you're receiving from past employment. Just seems to me that it is so unlikely that deferred income from past employment could give rise to a prohibited conflict of interest, that it just is unnecessary to require that disclosure. On the question regarding gifts and honoraria, there are exceptions in the code. There's a list of exceptions in the code. Things like attendance at an event when you're there for an official purpose and you're provided a meal, you can accept that. You can accept certain immaterial free items. You go to a conference and they have a coffee mug with somebody's name on it, you can accept it. You know, there are various very sensible exceptions to the rule against prohibited gifts, but we didn't exclude those things from the disclosure requirement. So now we have the question about gifts followed by the list of do not disclose. And by the way, that list of exceptions, the source of that, the origin of that, is the Lobbying Act. The New York State Lobbying Act regulates the gift giver, but it has that very sensible list of exceptions. We eliminated third-party reimbursements. If you're being reimbursed for an out-of-pocket expenditure, it seems very unlikely that that could give rise to a prohibited conflict of interest. So we eliminated that disclosure requirement. We eliminated the requirement to disclose positions that you hold in a political party. This village, this board, if it wished to, could restrict officers of political parties from holding certain government positions. Some municipalities do that. This village does not. It doesn't seem to me that your position in a political party is relevant to the discharge of your official duties. Politics exists. It's hardwired into the system. It's not going away, but it doesn't implicate your obligations under the Code of Ethics. And that's it. Those are the changes we made. So I think if you look at the form now, it's far simpler, it's clearer, it's less invasive to the extent that we eliminated unnecessary questions, and I would urge you to adopt it, to approve it. In terms of who is filing and who should file, the idea of filing is that if you are making decisions that affect people's lives, or you're participating in those decisions being made, the people who are subject to the decisions that you're making ought to be able to have reassurance that you're making them objectively and impartially and not based upon any personal interest. So if you think, for example, about land use boards, land use regulation is such a central function of village government, and the consequences to the people that are subject to those regulations so significant and so inherently associated with money, that those boards ought to be required to disclose. And it's not an insult to somebody to ask them to make financial disclosure. There is no message being sent that we don't trust you, or we think that you are somehow prone to be corrupt or in some way. It's just a way of assuring the public that village government is a level playing field. Anything else that, the other thing I have to say is that it's my universal experience. It has been my universal experience that there are some stragglers from time to time, people who are slow to file their disclosure statements, but that with a little bit of effort, calling, reminding, writing letters, kidding, cajoling, threatening, yelling, whatever you need to do, eventually you get 100% compliance. And I'm sure that that's, we were very close to that here on the initial round, and I'm sure if we haven't already achieved it, I haven't asked Elizabeth, we will achieve it.
It looks like we have
Mayor, I
a
have
question
a
from the audience.
In reference to compensation and not divulging other sources of compensation, deferred compensation or whatever, does the village run into a problem in reference to overpayment when someone who takes a job here post-retirement in the New York State system, collecting a pension and their salary is limited to, let's say, $35,000 a year, and they take a job here making $60,000, and 2 years later it turns out we should have never been paying them $60,000 because of the limited income they can make based on whatever, whether it's Social Security, disability, or some other reason. Does that affect negatively on the town, or does at least give the appearance that the town should have known? I would assume that was the purpose of the question.
Village.
I'm sorry. I would assume that was the purpose of the question.
Well, I think that's a very good question to ask in the onboarding process. I'm not sure it needs to be asked on an annual basis. If somebody is moving from one government position to another, from one municipality to another, I think that's a relevant, important question to ask. But I'm not sure, as I said, that it needs to be asked on an annual basis.
May I ask a question? If you do ask it at the onboarding process, and then they, 2 years later, start to collect their pension from New York State, how would you know then?
Well,
if you don't ask.
First, in the onboarding process, if they are employed by another municipality or retired from another municipality, I would notify them of their obligation under the law, but I'm not sure that it is, and I defer to the village attorney on this, but I'm not sure that it is the obligation of the village to police that. If there's an audit by the state comptroller, if it's discovered that someone is double dipping in a way that is not permissible, then there are government agencies that step in and remedy that. But I'm not sure that the village is charged with policing that limitation.
Which is why I qualified by saying the appearance. It's not whether we know, it's whether or not we should have known. And with election cycles every 2 years and darts getting thrown in all various ways, for a simple yes or no question, either you have that money or you don't, or you're in the middle of a Social Security disability lawsuit that you don't know what your ramifications are yet, but yet you're still employed here while that's pending. My advice to my client, and we don't have to play volleyball with the issue, but would be, what's the harm in that yes or no question annually? Or if you answered this, to me, it protects the village. Again, you're right. Ms. Leventhal, 1,000%, and I would yield to your expertise that the village isn't culpable in that. And like, you know, that no one's gonna fire the treasurer for that overpayment, but again, in that ethical world, we deal with the appearance and whether or not you should have known or had an obligation to.
Right, and, you know, if the board wishes to have that question back in the form, certainly you can do that. You see, I approach this subject strictly from the perspective of ethics and what the obligations are under Article 18 of the General Municipal Law, the Local Code of Ethics, common law ethics principles. The issue that the village attorney has raised, while it's absolutely a legitimate issue to raise, is a legal question. It's not an ethics question. So if you want it in, we can do that. It's just a matter, you know, there is no right or wrong answer. It's just a matter of finding the happy medium, if there is such a thing.
I think one of the concerns that a lot of people have been voicing to me is who's reviewing this. So I just think it's important to note for whoever's listening that it's not the village, it's not the people at this table sitting there reviewing it either. So, you know, it wouldn't be Trustee Giuliano's fault or whatever if he didn't notice that you were getting that retirement fund or something like that. It's the Board of Ethics reviewing it. So just for everybody's concerned of who's reviewing it, what are they digging into, that those are the types of questions we're getting. It's not the village board, it's the Board of Ethics, which is separate. So just to clarify that.
That's true. At the same time, the financial disclosure forms are subject to FOIL, the Freedom of Information Law. What we can do in disclosing the form in response to a request is redact information, the disclosure of which would result in an unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. And what we've always, at least as a threshold matter, interpreted that to mean is your home address, the names of your minor children, and the categories of amount. You know, the privacy interest of a government officer or employee runs along a spectrum. They have a strong privacy interest in information that is solely of a personal nature. They have a lesser privacy interest in information that relates to their official duties. So, but nevertheless, the Freedom of Information Law applies, and while no village official is reviewing the forms as a regular matter, as a routine matter, like anyone else, they could submit a FOIL request and obtain a redacted copy of the disclosure form.
The other aspect that we were looking at is the timing of the disclosure form, the deadline, when it's due, when do you complete the documentation, and when is it required? So the discussion was around the feeling that it should be along the same lines as our organizational meeting, the village's annual organizational meeting, so that any new appointees to boards, committees, and also we have an election cycle every 2 years, every year, I mean, for, you know, 2-year offices. That makes sense to happen after an election and organizational meeting.
Sure. Please remind me, when does the official village year begin?
The first Monday after the 4th of July or after the 1st of July? July 1st.
Right, okay.
Of July.
Okay. So certainly that change can be made. That would require an amendment to the code. It's in the Code of Ethics, that filing date. The reason that filing date is May 15th is the theory was after you file your personal income tax return, you have you have marshaled all your financial information and are in a better position to complete the form. But certainly, if it's true that waiting until after the organizational meeting would allow the population of people to file to more closely represent who is then currently an officer or employee of the village.
So that would require public notification and hearing to change that code?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Attorney Leventhal, I really, first of all, having gone through the first cycle of the compliance form, I'm very happy that you guys decided to have a look and simplify it a little bit. At the time, it was feeling to me like it was approximating the proctology exam I have had with companies like KPMG, et cetera, and for all of the reasons they have it.
Mhm.
But I appreciate you sort of right-sizing it for the purpose here. And my only other question is, as usual, somewhat data related, and that is, how are these stored and who has access to them? And I understand that if it's foiled, the recipient will get a redacted version, but just in general, how are they protected?
They are maintained by Elizabeth as the secretary to the Board of Ethics in a locked file cabinet. And anyone who would want access to them would either have Elizabeth's permission or a screwdriver.
But have to get into her locked office
Yes,
in
yes.
order to access the locked
Yes.
cabinet. Okay. Thank you.
Are we gonna have to fill out the updated form now?
No.
Okay.
Not until next year. Not until next year.
If it's less rigorous, then the one
Should-
we
yeah.
did should cover it.
So if we're moving the date of the required completion, that would be kicked off next year?
Right.
Is what we'd have to,
Right.
okay, accommodate next year. And the other thing we talked about is doing an annual training in the coming weeks or months. And if there was a time for that, because of the new people who are on boards and councils and committees, and on this board, we have a new trustee who hasn't gone through that training, we should pick a date for that.
Sure. You can wake me up in the middle of the night and stand me behind a podium. I can do an hour and a half.
We'll see about that.
Okay.
All right, any other questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
So next step will be to,
A resolution adopting the new form.
and we'll have the new forms with the next packet, correct? Clerk Perillo? Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you very much. Thank you, Elizabeth. And that concludes our special guest portion of today's meeting. It's my favorite part. So you want to get right into monthly reports?
Yes.
All right, is there a way we can turn that
Yeah.
screen off, Jeff? Okay, thank you.
Currently the blue screen of annoyance.
Yes.
All right, so tonight we are going to start with Village Clerk Sylvia Perillo.
Thank you,
RMC.
Mayor. I will do my best to be brief. Touching on my report first, for civil service matters, we have interviews. Interviews have been scheduled for the open position of Village Superintendent of Public Works. So that will be happening at the end of this week. Regarding events, the homecoming parade was scheduled for the 19th of September. That parade was canceled, and then that parade was rescheduled. So please note that the parade is rescheduled for the 19th and will begin at 7 p.m. and ending at 8 p.m.
It was a false alarm.
Yes.
Okay.
So on the same date.
Same date, same time. Scheduled, canceled, rescheduled. Similarly, the Fun Run has a reschedule of date
to the 27th. That is an event that we have already approved as a board. Time remains the same, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., and that is to coincide, as it does annually, with the homecoming day game and the carnival. So wanted to make a note of that. Our
So
village.
the homecoming parade is on the 19th, but the homecoming is actually on the 27th?
Correct. The game is on the 27th.
Do you know why, Trustee Franco?
I believe Southampton eliminated their football team, their program, so that was the game for the homecoming. So they had to make an adjustment for this game schedule, but they didn't adjust the rest of the
Yeah, why
program.
wouldn't they have the parade on the same day as the game?
That's a fair question.
The
I
night
don't,
before
I don't
the
have an
game.
answer for that.
I don't know the answer. Sorry.
I can ask and get you an answer.
Sure. I mean, I'm not suggesting that it change or
No.
anything. I'm just curious as to why usually homecoming
It's
parade
a fair
is
question.
the-
I can ask and find out.
Yeah.
Staying with the topic of events, the regatta was this past Saturday, and
The
although
Village Cup Regatta.
Yes, although the village did not take home the trophy, it was very close. Very, very close. We had 20-mile-an-hour winds. The foundation did an extraordinary job this year. They always do a great job. This year was really spectacular. We had new sponsors for the event. We had different placements for reservation tables, for example, and that became important because as we had some last-minute cancellations, people were walking by, so we had foot traffic, and there were people that would have come onto the boats. So the suggestion for next year will be to allow that and fill even more spots. The raffles were extraordinary as well. Mayor, you were there as well, and it was,
Yeah. So it was Trustee Giuliano.
Yes.
Who sailed in a boat that did
Yes.
not finish. Yeah.
Oh, did you?
So the village had 3 boats that did not finish.
Oh, I thought it was 2.
Ours, the boat that you and I were on,
Mhm.
Chuck Chiaramonte's boat, was like lightning.
Lightning.
Through this.
We were winning.
We felt like we were in the America's Cup. It
It
was
was.
so fun.
It was.
And so with the wind like that, I've never had that experience with the regatta. It was super exciting. And the reason we did not win, we lost by 2 points. And sailing, I guess, the scoring is a lot like golf. The lower your score, the better off you are. And so we were 2 points behind the Mather team, and had these 3 boats that did not finished. If even just one of them were able to race, we definitely would have had the trophy. So, yeah, fired up about next year.
Next time.
Just saying.
Next time.
But yeah, the regatta. Everyone really liked the regatta pole flags for promoting the event.
Yes.
Everyone was very pleased about that. We have interest from the Dragon Boat Festival to do those very similar promotional flags. And they're very reasonably priced as well. It's like $60 to $70 per
Mhm.
flag.
Yes.
And it does the job. People are looking up at the flags and saying, what is that? So.
And reusable when worded properly.
And they're reusable. Again, so they raised more money this year than they did last year. Ralph Macchio was there, and he always comes. His wife is a palliative care nurse at Mather Northwell, and feels strongly about the pancreatic cancer research as well. And yeah, it was.
And Sheriff Toulon.
And Sheriff Toulon,
Mhm.
who is he's a 20-year
20-year.
pancreatic cancer survivor.
Yes.
You know, he's a young man.
Yes.
And so, yeah, so it was a great event, and highly recommend it to everyone sitting around this table next year. And Trustee Ugrinsky would have been there not for family crisis issues, family circumstances. So we could have used your support and your sailing technique, and you probably could have resolved the issue on the Harvest Moon. No, it was an insurmountable issue. But anyway, thanks for bringing that up, and that was fun.
Thank you.
I guarantee you they'll be checking the jib lines next year there. Before they go out.
Yeah.
We
And
had-
thanks to the clerk, too, because
Yeah.
you attended many of the meetings, if not all of them, and your participation was a huge was a huge reason why it was also successful from the village standpoint.
Thank you, Mayor, I
We're at the
appreciate that.
registration table. Yeah, that's
Yes, thank you.
Nobody's job.
Yeah, that's a little
Welcome's
dicey.
welcome. Yeah. Welcome's welcome.
Thank you so much. I also have an update, a synopsis from Jennifer Hildreth, who is, of course, instrumental in our record retention program, and it is moving forward quite well. Our next plan of attack is for the planning space, the space downstairs here in Village Hall, where building and planning are currently sitting, needs some additional attention. After that, we have the clerk's office and the court office, not necessarily in that order. We've also been in extensive communication with the town. We will be asking this board to please enter into an agreement with the town for which a resolution is required so that we can store boxes at $3 per, and also enlist their help with shredding of documents that are shreddable per the record retention system. And also, we are enlisting their help with documentation that's required per New York State. I have samples already so that we don't have to invent that wheel. It's already been invented by the town, so that we have proper sign-off. What I would like is a notation of the document, the age of the document, the sign-off by the department head, and sign-off by myself, of course, as the records management officer before anything is shredded, and then we'll keep those documents. In addition, if we keep documents in the town, if we send them to the town and they need to be shredded, there is an employee of the town that goes through those boxes and will advise us of when they need to be shredded. And if we can get together and jump on the same contract used by the town, that would be efficient for us as well as economically feasible. So we're in the process of working out all those details. And speaking of the court, I want to segue to the fact that there will be 3 court dates in October. Those are the 7th, the 21st, and the 28th. That's an anomaly. We usually only have 2, but we have numerous holidays in November. In November, there will be only 1 court date on the 18th. This evening, I'm asking for 3 resolutions, as those are time-sensitive. One is for an event permit application, another one is for the hiring of code enforcement officers, and another is from the treasurer for an irrigation system well pump so that we prevent potential failure. So with that, resolution number 91025 is a resolution approving the event permit application submitted by Jean Poten on behalf of the Port Jeff High School cheer varsity for the use of the parking lot at Village Hall from 10 a.m. through 1 p.m. on September 28th, 2025 for a car wash fundraiser, and approving a waiver of the corresponding permit fee. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 91025, resolution hiring Alexander Romanich and Michael Richard as code enforcement officers at an hourly wage rate of $19.31 per hour, effective September 11th, 2025. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 91025, resolution to fund emergency repairs, maintenance, and recalibration for the Port Jefferson Country Club irrigation system well pump to prevent potential failure by authorizing Treasurer Gafka to perform attached budget transfer number 36 as follows. Decrease expenses for line item CR 7990.1, Pro Shop full-time, by $40,787, and increase expenses for line item CR 7989.21, PJCC equipment parts and repairs, by $40,787. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Mayor, that concludes my report unless anyone has questions.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Thank you, Mayor.
Treasurer Gafka, on to you.
Thank you, Mayor. I will also try and be brief. Quick update on the fiscal 2026 budget. Our expenses for both the country club and the general fund are tracking right about what last year's numbers were. They're just slightly up, 39,000 for general and 22,000 for the country club. And that is within what we expected this year. So we're kind of right on target with our expenses. The revenues are up for both the general fund and country club. General fund's up by about $500,000. Some of that is additional tax income, some rec fees, some increases through room rentals. And the country club is also up $297,000. That's with increased membership fees, also doing well on cart and guest fees, which are two main drivers. So that's on just a quick health update on the budget. We've collected the majority of our property taxes. We only have about $131,000 outstanding. So that's pretty good, and we'll be setting a resolution to do a tax sale sometime in the next month. And so that we come March, what is it, Clerk Perillo, is it the second Tuesday? Third Tuesday in March, we do a tax sale where we'll get all of, the village will become whole. I was hoping to have the draft capital asset valuation this week updated. Been going back and forth with the company for our fiscal 2025 update. So we got the first report in over 10 years for 24. We're updating 25 and just kind of going back and forth on a few numbers, including some grant programs and income that we received. So just some clarification things.
We'll have that on time for our audit.
Yes. Yes.
And so we'll have no more material weaknesses.
That is correct. The report that we got this year, the final report for 2024, would take care of that. And this is the process to make sure that we never have that happen again.
Hallelujah.
We met with the parking committee on Thursday, the 4th, and they're working on a listing of capital projects to use the parking capital funds that have been collected. To date, we have over $100,000 that we brought into the year in the parking capital. There's another $125,000 budgeted in this budget to move over. So there's almost $227,000 to be able to do some parking capital. So we expect a recommendation to this board to be coming soon from the parking committee to be able to reinvest in some of our parking infrastructure. Also working on with DPW, who are they're doing a great job working on trying to get lighting for the meters. This is something to kind of like a security light, just make them stand out when it's dark out, especially in the winter months. So there's a street light fixture that's on order that we're going to look to maybe attach to a pole to see how that works, as well as potential some other type of like a blue light or an orange light or something to alert where the meter actually physically is, so that people aren't just walking around can't find them, that they're easy to spot. We've also put up new signage, little high visibility signs next to all of the meters so that we can bring the eyes and attention when the lots are full and people can see where they are.
Will the blue lights shine on the signs?
No, I don't believe they would.
They should. Okay, we'll see what we can do. But is there a time frame on the lighting project?
I know that they were ordered, so I will follow up with DPW to see where we're at. Yes.
Okay.
If the sample works, then we look to we'll scale it out to the other 8 meters. I know there's been discussion about parking revenue and transactions. We've talked a little bit about that in the past. So just a brief update. So in 2025, from April to August, through the end of August, we've done 100,000 total parking transactions that's through honk and our parking meters. Last year, that number was around 115,000. The decrease can be seen during some of the bad weather days. So we do believe that that's a factor in that, because August, in and of itself, our transactions were actually up. The weather was perfect throughout the whole month of August, and the revenue was way up over last August. All in all, the overall revenue is up about 22,000, 23,000 from the April through the end of August this year over last year. So we'll, cautiously optimistic we'll hit our numbers when it comes to the end of May.
Just for resident reference, we're looking at the license plate reader program.
Yes.
Do you have any, if it's premature, you can update us next month, but, or at the end of, at some point, but what's is there any update you can provide to us? Because the current, not the license plate reader, but the technology that we use to issue the permits is like super problematic for everybody.
I understand, and we hear the concerns.
Mhm.
Every day I know Rita downstairs, when she handles a lot of this, she hears a lot of them, brings them to me. So there's some very interesting things that people bring to us. It's a little premature because we're still having the discussions internally and externally with the available options, but we are looking to try and streamline the process to make it easier for everybody and more clear as to who qualifies for a permit and who does not. So
I know that yes, thank you. I know that our IT guru is looking as much as possible to mimic the system that is used by the town, and hopefully we can work together with them. As the treasurer said, it's a little bit premature, but we would like to get a system in place that is not only more user-friendly, but easier for our employees as well. So we're looking at a win-win on that one. And in addition to that, Mayor, if I may, Teresa is also undergoing the process, we're underway with the process of the .gov transformation. Okay, and we've made great headway. Don't anticipate any problems hitting the deadline. That is by the end of the year.
So we'll have a true update on that next month, maybe?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Maybe on both issues?
Yes.
Okay.
thank you.
I just want to say thank you for including the parking transactions, because I usually ask about it and you put it in there. So thank you.
Yeah, we're working to build out have a whole spreadsheet built out that's going to be tracking all of those aspects and really provide data, whenever it's asked, like where are we with certain things. So it's a very useful. And then just, we're still working with the commissioner and trustee liaison to the country club on the rates and the 5-year rate projections. So those discussions are ongoing. Hope to have something to present to the CCMAC in the very, very near future. Touching up on debt service payments, we have some very substantial debt service payments coming in October. We have our serial bond refunding in 2019. That's a little over $500,000 that gets paid out on October 1st, and that comes from both the general fund and the country club. Then we also have to pay off the 2023 Series B ban that we took out, and that relates back to the Oakwood Road ban for the FEMA project, and also the 5 projects from 2020 that we just closed out. So we pay that back October 11th. And that closes all of that accounting out, and we move on from there. And we also have a bond interest payment due October 15th. And I don't have any other resolutions to discuss as of yet, but I expect there might be a couple for the agenda meeting, but I don't have the information right now. And that's it for my report.
So the well pump, that resolution we just did, so that's not,
Correct, yes, yeah, we just voted on that.
we just voted on that, so that's off the list. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's start, trustee Franco with you on trustee reports.
I'd first like to deviate to the event, the PTSD 22 event was fantastic. I did get called out by my wife for saying amazing too many times in my first speech. I said it 5 times. She was the only one to bang me on that, so that was funny. I would like to say again to Frank Lombardi and Alex Roman, they were amazing. I said amazing again. They were fantastic. They did a wonderful job with this event. It was great. And to watch Rebecca Cassay, our Assemblywoman, sing was something else. It was really fun.
Oh, I would have been there for that.
It was fun. She jumped right in there. She's fun, she's amazing again. It's amazing. the school contacted me about parking in the beginning of the school, so I reached out to Kevin from Code, and he was amazing. He came in, he had Kyle and Jimmy come down with the afternoon pickup, and it went very smoothly. The transition has been great, so that nice symbiotic relationship between the village and the school district is really starting to show some progress, so that was very nice. We had our first meeting of the working group. We currently, on the 25th, have the Board of Ed. 3 members are coming down to do a presentation for the working group. The working group is developing some questions that we're going to present to the board in advance, and try to get like a little bit of a relationship. I put it on the board today. I did, yes, but I might need more space, and I'll talk to you about it. I'm sorry. It looks like it's going to be bigger than.
What time is that meeting, trustee?
It's the 25th of September at 6:30.
Thank you.
We also initiated the Kindness Award from the village that I originally brought up earlier, about a month or so ago. The Board of Ed approved it. The superintendent was on board with it. I gave them the paperwork to submit to the administrators for the selection of a student in the elementary, the middle school, and the high school. So we're going to start that hopefully by sometime mid-October. We'll make our first presentation at the school to those students. I actually I sent Sylvia an email today about developing the certificate.
Yes, and I responded to that, trustee. Any details that you can provide to us would be appreciated, names, the grades. How does the award work? Did the child do something in particular that it merits the award?
Correct.
Or any details that we have to really make the certificate detailed would be appreciated.
Yes, and that's why I'm hoping that we have that by the first week in October. I can get it to you, and then, because there's going to be one for the elementary, the middle school, and the high school, so we want to kind of make it specific for them. And yes, but I'll get you all that information in advance, and then probably sometime middle of October, we'll make the first presentation, and we plan on doing that monthly until June, and that's when Assemblywoman Cassay is going to come down for all of the recipients of the award and give them a state award from the Assembly. So
Will she sing?
I will ask her to sing, but I think I do have video of it. I think I do.
You're developing some sort of criteria or something that leads to the selection of.
Correct. That's already been developed. I can bring it in, and I'll submit it.
It's a village award?
It's a village award, so I'll submit that to Sylvia so that we can go over it. And if there's any corrections or modifications you want to make, that's fine.
Probably all the trustees would want to see it,
Sure.
right?
No problem.
And I'm sorry, the certificates are going to be awarded at our meetings? I thought you referenced our meeting on the 24th in your
No,
email.
they're going to be
No.
they're going to be presented at the school. So the plan was potentially to have their parents come in, have the administrator at the school, and a member from the working group and myself would then present the award to the kids at the school, so to make less inconvenience for the parents and the children in the school, but keep it in the school.
So if you could advise those dates and times so that I can share that with the rest of the board members?
Yes.
That would be great.
Yep, I'll get everything to you.
Thank you.
We're in the infancy stage, but I want to get the information in the mission statement and all the information. I'll make sure I get that to you guys first.
Thank you.
Okay.
And it's at school board meetings or just on the?
No, let's just say, for example, it's a Tuesday, the third week in October, the school, and we'll reach out to the parents and let them know that their children are going to be receiving an award from the village, and then one of the members from the working group and myself will go and present the award, and if anybody on the board would like to show up for that, be more than welcome to come. It'd be great. But we wanted to kind of keep it in-house at the school, just to kind of make it easier for the parents and the children.
But not in front of the school board?
No, not in front of the school board. It was really, we were just going to do it in the building. Do you think we should do it?
I don't know. It's a new thing. I don't.
Yeah, and again, this is developing, and as we move along with this, there might be modifications that, we see as we go along. But right now, I thought the simplest solution, when I spoke with Superintendent Schmittan, was to do it in the building, with the administrators in the building and the parents, just for convenience for everybody in the initial stages. So maybe in the end, we can do it at the board meeting, we can have an event, but something as we go along, if you have any suggestions, please, we're welcome to anything.
Okay. Does that conclude your report?
That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Hill?
Thank you. So like Trustee Franco mentioned, school started. Code was present for dismissals, addressing the pickup of students. Code is working with school administrators on the parking conditions, like you mentioned, and the condition has improved. So there were some wrinkles the first week. It does look like it's figuring itself out. So hopefully, folks that were, or the neighbors that were most concerned are happy with what we were able to change and fix. And then again, I just want to thank Melissa, the crossing guard, for really keeping on top of this. So, and really sounding the alarm on the problem from the beginning. So,
is it true that the families are kind of pulling into the teacher parking lot and dropping kids off there?
That's what they've said. So, which is also fine because this way they're using the crosswalk.
Yeah.
So,
I was there at the afternoon. The parents were pulling into the teacher's parking lot, which really made it easier for Melissa to cross everybody across. So it was really, it's getting the people back into a different pattern.
Yeah.
So it worked well. And Melissa is amazing. You are right.
Mm-hmm.
She knows every car. She knows who's turning around, who's doing a U-turn, who's dropping off on the other side. She really is wonderful.
Yeah, if you're speeding right by the school, she's clocked you. So. So Code is also continuing to address the disorderly groups in Mariners Way and the Baker's Alley parking lots. They've been working with the 6th Precinct personnel to keep these groups from congregating in those lots and on Main Street. We had a very, I'd say, productive meeting with the Public Safety Advisory Council Monday night. Thank you, Mayor, for joining us. And I'm sorry, Trustee Franco was planning on coming, but he got bumped because of protocol. So,
Sorry about that.
It was great. We had folks, business owners and residents who live right in our commercial district, our C1, and just sharing their perspective on how the incidents are certainly different than what they've been in seasons prior. And then last night, myself and Karen Sullivan, who sits on the Public Safety Advisory Council, we went down to the 6th Precinct community meeting. So they have their own monthly meeting where residents in the 6th Precinct can go and share any concerns they have directly with the inspector. The inspector is the top boss of the 6th Precinct. And it was definitely worth our time to drive down to Center Each and go do that. So I had a conversation with him. We talked about kind of the issues that we're experiencing, and the conversation resulted in that he would flag our particular issues with the street takeover task force. This was developed after, folks probably remember last year, where there were far worse incidences of just vehicles taking over streets. People that are showing off their cars and then they're kind of souped up for racing. In Mount Sinai last summer. So that's what triggered this task force. Luckily, right now, we're probably not at the level of that task force getting involved, which I think is a good thing, but will be on their radar just in case. He also said that he would flag it for the site task force, that's Suffolk Intensified Traffic Enforcement. So that's Highway Patrol, and they kind of go after reckless driving, drunk driving, particularly dangerous intersections, or places where they know that speeding occurs. So hopefully we'll be included in that. And then from your conversations, Mayor, and I think I brought this up at our public meeting when we asked the sergeant, but he couldn't commit to anything. The inspector did say that they are extending the whiskey unit through September. Usually that ends either after Labor Day weekend or the weekend after that, so we'll have it the rest of the month. And for folks asking what is the whiskey unit, it's usually 2 squad cars that are assigned specifically to the village. I think their tours are 4 to 4, and that's throughout the weekends. So that'll be much welcomed assistance there. Our next meeting is Monday, October 6th at 7 p.m. right here. So it's open to anyone in the community who wants to join, so you're more than welcome to join. And then the only other thing I'll mention on that front is I mentioned it last meeting, but I'll mention it going forward, is we're just collecting incidents of, just anything that you think could be an improved safety issue. Of course, we're doing that all the time, but we're mostly looking at kind of is there a place that's particularly too dark, or is there shrubs that you've noticed that kind of create a visual barrier around a corner? Like, those are things that our code enforcement can quickly do, or if a crosswalk needs, more, better stenciling or paint redone so that it's visible to drivers, those sort of things. And we're put it all in a Google Doc, and once we have stuff to work with, we'll be sending them out to either DPW or code enforcement, whoever is relevant, through the clerk, of course. And that is it for me.
Can I ask you, since you went to the police meeting, and thank you for doing that, because I've wanted to do that for a long time, and I think it's important that we make a presence, and certainly your role would be the most appropriate for that. But did you hear during those meetings, was there any kind of public comment regarding the e-bikes? Just out of curiosity.
No, last night folks didn't bring up e-bikes. There's one community, and I can't recall where it was exactly, but they had a big issue with quads.
Quads.
So I don't take e-bikes over quads every day, I think.
Yeah.
And then there was just kind of the incidents of crime across the precinct, and luckily Port Jeff Village was never mentioned in there, which is that's what we want to see. And then I did interesting learn that I knew that the 6th precinct was just geographically the largest precinct, but I learned that we have the most incidents for calls, but we don't have the most patrol cars in the precinct, which I thought was
data.
Yeah, exactly. So might be something we urge at the county level.
I unfortunately have been coming home late at night for family reasons, and have driven through a number of times the lot behind where Tommy's place is, and where some of that activity was occurring. And I'm super grateful that every time I went through, there was either a code car or a Suffolk County police car sitting there, and I, obviously made a point of saying hi and thank you. But I'm very excited to see that we're making progress on that matter.
Yeah. Oh, and then the only other thing I forgot to mention is the Public Safety Advisory Council did formally recommend that we adopt the code change that we scheduled the hearing for at the end of this month.
There's one other thing that it kind of corresponds with both of your commissionerships, and that is that, I don't know if anybody's seen this yet, but the light has been installed at High Street and Stony Hill Road. The blinker, red going north-south, and yellow going east-west. So I was pleasantly surprised to see that. And they also cut back all that overhanging shrubbery vegetation on the corner of High Street and right on First Avenue. So that was amazing, if I can use that word, to see. So that was really good to see.
It seems to be my favorite word.
Well, it's good. I hope you can say it more often. So that was very, very, it was I've never been so happy to see a blinking light in my life.
Mm-hmm. I noticed it on my way home from the 6th precinct meeting. I was like, the light is here.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. All right. Trustee Giuliano. Thank you, Trustee Hill. What else?
We have
So just on this same topic, and I appreciate that you went there. I was at that meeting the other night. So just as an example, last night, I met a friend at Danford's, had dinner. It was only 8:30. She parked in front of the Gap. I drove my car from Danford's to bring her to her car, and we were surrounded by probably 15 e-bikes. So they were behind my car. I'm dropping her off, and now I'm not moving because I want to protect her, because they're just encroaching upon us, very intimidating, and I'm not that easily intimidated, if anybody. I think a few of you know me. She got into her car, so then I went forward, and they cut me off. They cut in front of me. They were doing wheelies in the traffic circle.
Emphasis 911.
Yeah, you have to call the police.
I think I think the problem there is, yes, it would register a complaint.
We can't have the dialogue here, but
Oh.
I'm sorry
Okay.
to cut you off, but it's your comments are heard.
Okay.
And one of the things that have been emphasized by, if you want to talk through that, what the real act that should be taken when this is happening in real time is call 911. You were fearful. So it's public health and safety.
But they disappear like that.
Yes, but the most important reason to call 911 is so when I have the conversation with the commissioner and he flags it for these task force, the task force can go look and see the 911 incident calls, and they say, you're right. And that's why we need to be there before these things happen. So for folks at home too, like, please do make those calls, because the precinct is huge. It goes all the way to Yapbank. We're competing for resources with communities that frankly experience far greater issues than our own, luckily for us. But getting those calls in and that information documented is the only way we're really going to be see more response and cars in our patrol cars in our own jurisdiction.
As stated at the last meeting, they're data-driven. So if they go to their system and see nobody called, they're not increasing patrols. Whether or not they're there in time to do anything effectively at that moment, but it will mean increased patrols in the future to prevent it moving forward.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. All right, along with everybody else, I'll try to be brief, but I do have a lot. Let's talk about recreation first of all. Parks and Rec has a new chairperson, Matt Macarios, who is also a new member of the Parks and Rec committee, volunteered to take over for Rima Potter, who, if you recall, resigned at our last meeting, and we accepted that with regret. Port Jefferson Youth Camp ended on August 15th. They had 145 campers. The month of August, there were 13,749 people that entered into the village center, which is an amazing number. A lot of people. Renee is finalizing the fall and winter Parks and Rec brochure for classes that will include Tai Chi, senior clubs, watercoloring, painting class, and a whole gamut of other classes and events that are going to go on over at the Village Center. So as soon as that brochure is done, she'll get that out to the public, and then definitely take a look at it, and for people at home, sign up for something if it interests you. We've mentioned the regatta, the hill climb, thanks to Renee. And the Recreation Department, the Parks Department, DPW, Clerk's Office, everybody that had a hand in making sure that those events went off safely and effectively. Village golf outing, there were 91 golfers that played. Again, that was something that Renee coordinated, so thank you again for that. See, they applied to the USTA for grants or financial help to help rebuild the tennis facilities. I think I don't think she has heard back from them yet, but she's waiting some sort of word back from the USTA. Had a meeting today at the Country Club with Renee, Pat Sullivan, and Dave Milios to discuss the Halloween events. They're going to bring back the hayride, the haunted hayride. And then Renee went over and spoke with people from Lessings as far as the events that they're going to do. He's finalizing the plans, and we'll get that over to Renee. So as soon as that's available, we'll get it out to everybody. We'll also need code enforcement assistance for that event over at the Country Club. And
volunteers.
And volunteers, yeah.
To pop out from behind trees and stuff like that to scare the poor kids who are on the hay rides.
They were talking about getting, enlisting help from the school, from the football team and the cheerleaders and things like that to go along with that, so.
They need the theater kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Theater kids,
marketing
too.
drama, yeah.
Yeah.
I've done that many years, in the middle of the, in the middle of the golf course, in the, in the darkness there, and frighten the bejeevers out of the kids. It's always fun. As far as DPW, they did a little cleanup after the August 1st rain event. A couple of trees down that they cut back and pushed off to the side. They finished marking out 2 additional handicap spots for fan accessible handicap over at Rocket Ship Park. That was a suggestion that came in, and they said, good idea for handicap spots there. I think we talked about it at the last meeting, but the basin cleanup was complete. 340 to 360 cubic yards of debris was removed from 47 different drainage structures. So a lot of dirt and a lot of debris that was carted away from those from the drains. And I don't know. I know we had talked about it, I think, at the last meeting. I think it's been 2 years since they did some sort of clean out there. So there was a buildup of, I think, over 2 years. They installed no parking signs in accordance with the code change that we approved at the last meeting, and they did all the setup and breakdown for all the concert series that were happening. As far as the Conservancy, they're working on raising funds to refurbish and expand the stage at Harborfront Park. Had a couple of preliminary meetings and are continue to have those meetings and figure out what's needed, and then raise the funds for it. And speaking of raising funds, the next fundraiser is scheduled for November 13th at the same site over at the house, and it's going to be a casino night. So James Bond and Casino Royale. So that should be a good event. The CAC.
Mark your calendars.
Mark your calendars. November 13th. CAC, meeting is on September 16th, and we're going to be going over the goals for future meetings and goals that the committee is going to meet. Citizens Commission on Erosion, they're digesting and continuing to make recommendations as far as the GEI engineering report that was submitted, and get back to us. And they raised some interesting questions that that we'll bring back to the engineers, and we'll get answers to them. Their next meeting is October 2nd, and I will be meeting tomorrow with Andy Freeling to discuss code change proposals that were brought to us at the attention of the Tree Committee. Tree Committee, again, at their last meeting, they worked on the presentation that they gave here today. They did an amazing job, and as I said before, it is one group that everybody on the committee really chips in and is really active in that committee. So there's not there's not one person that sits back and says, "All right, you guys do the work." Everybody really pitches in, rolls up their sleeves, and gets the work done. So again, thank you for that. Thank you for the presentation that they gave here. And this just in. Clerk Perillo.
Before you do that, can I ask you a question about the tree committee?
Sure.
They're talking about a tree dedication planting for Nick A. Campora.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about locations, so this is probably a good time to reference it to the board if you want to, and the type of tree that they are suggesting.
I know they were talking about a sugar maple, which is native to this area, and is one that Nick was would like to purchase and to have dedicated. The location I don't think has been selected yet, unless you have
All right, so
inside information.
there was an email today.
Oh, okay.
Missed it, yeah.
Okay.
So they're talking about a weeping willow.
Oh, okay, it's changed.
Remember
Okay.
we at the tree committee when you guys were
Yes.
in there, and then also looking at the location. Would be, they're asking for it to replace not replace, but in the location where the dog bag dispenser is on on the pole, right there.
Okay.
I didn't even say where it was. It's off Barnum through, on the way to Salt Meadow,
Mhm.
on the right-hand side.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Where there's a bunch of like park area land grass, which really doesn't get a lot of use. And so that's the request, is to put it in the place where that dog bag waste dispenser is, which can be moved anywhere,
Right.
so that's not a big deal.
Mhm.
But I don't know what this board thinks about that, but they're planting the tree in recognition of him. I don't think we need a resolution to accept that to make it happen, but any feedback?
I think willows are amazing and fast-growing trees. The one thing that I would advise is find a place for it that is damp, because it will suck all the water, unwanted water, out of those areas.
Crystal Lake.
Right. That location is
That's
perfect
why-
for a willow.
That's why
Yeah.
we kind of
Yeah.
suggested it, yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And it's going to grow large,
Yeah.
too, so
Yeah.
there's room for it to grow there.
Good.
And it would be beautiful.
No, it sounds great to me. I think a resolution might be nice, just because Nick does give a lot to the village, so
So in
formal,
recognition
in the
of,
record recognition
Sure.
would be, I think,
Yep.
nice thing to do.
Agree. We could-
Trustee, if I may, related to DPW, before you get to your last topic, we still have bricks.
We
There
still
are
have bricks.
I
did see a truck pull out, actually,
You
this
did.
afternoon.
Yes,
There was
you
a truck
did.
pulled out with a
Yes, you saw-
lot of bricks in the backside.
You did see that. We still have a large volume of bricks left. We need to get rid of them because we're running out of time for Sand and Salt is going
Yeah.
to be here sooner than we think.
Mhm.
To her credit, my deputy came up with what we hope is an excellent idea and relayed that idea to DPW. So we have contacted Habitat for Humanity
Oh.
to see if perhaps they would be interested in using the bricks.
Good idea.
Letting them know they're actually not structural, more decorative,
Mhm.
but hopefully that would be an excellent reuse.
Have we reached out to like salvage kind of places? And have we put them on Facebook Marketplace?
No. Yes and no?
Yes and no. The salvage, correct.
Yes to question number
Yeah, I
one.
got
Yes,
you.
yeah. We're trying to not spend the money to have people come pick them up for the salvage places. But we will have to if this idea doesn't work.
Marketplace is a good idea, too.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
could do that. Can we?
Okay. As long as the bricks leave.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's sue me.
Yeah.
And there's also Free Cycle, right? I mean, it's a site where if you have something you don't want,
Right.
you put it on there and someone can just come get it.
Okay. But how does that, who's the project manager on that? I'm looking at Michelle. I'm looking at Michelle. Michelle
Right.
Keenan.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we received this letter, and excuse me but I'm really just looking at it now, came into the clerk's office. Long Island Seaport and Eco Center, on behalf of Long Island Seaport, on behalf of LISEC, we'd like to ask for your support for a new partnership that's been established. It's Half Shells for Habitat program. It was funded in Setauket in 2018. It diverts oyster shells from landfills and repurposes them to restore coastal habitats around Long Island. You know about this?
Yeah.
No? Okay, great.
They need bricks?
No, they need shells. So what they want to do is recycle oyster shells. They'll be donated from local efforts from restaurants, local restaurants, and they will construct oyster reefs with these shells. As they dissolve, the oyster shells also mitigate the efforts of coastal ocean acidification. So what they are looking for us to do is they want to do it, I guess, and it doesn't really say, but I guess it's at the Harborfront Park is where they want to
At the LISEC building.
At the LISEC building.
want to drop
right.
it off.
Right.
So they need just access to water.
clean water, water spigot just to rinse off their buckets. Actually, just to rinse off their buckets. I don't even think it's for the oysters themselves. And they're looking for support. They're looking for some sort of letter or support from the village, so they can expand their efforts and then pick up more shells from the restaurants, so the restaurants aren't dumping them into the landfill.
So we can arrange for, I'm sorry, trustee,
Yeah.
we can arrange for the meeting on the 24th to have a supporting resolution that is well-worded, but noting that the village will commit resources but not money.
Perfect. And that's my report.
All right, I'll just tack something onto your report related. It's a couple of big DPW projects that are coming up. One is the culvert clean-out of, and that is scheduled to occur over the next 3 weeks or so. And they want to finish it sooner rather than later. You'll see, it'll just look like a huge VACCON, right? And what do you call it? Why can't I think of this word? It's ridiculous. Just suction hoses coming out of the storm
Yeah,
drains.
vacuum,
It's
really.
it's the hoses that suck out through the VACCON, and they'll be taking out equal amounts of material from that culvert as we found in the storm drain cleanout project after the recent storm drain cleanout project that we had. So that's going to happen. That'll be pretty unobtrusive to the neighborhood down there. We are staging them. I think I might have mentioned this at a recent meeting. We're staging them by the park shed, just to the west side of the tennis courts. Is that right? Okay. And then the other thing is the tennis court walkway project around the tennis courts. And that project was going to get started sooner rather than later, but we decided to make it later rather than sooner because there's so much going on in Port Jefferson in the month of October. The business district, the bid and the chamber both asked if we could postpone that project until the Harvest Festival, which is scheduled for October, the third weekend in October, and also Columbus Day weekend, which is a pretty big weekend for the commercial district.
We're expecting to start, Mayor, on the 26th or 27th.
Of October, the walkway project. So let's talk about the bricks on that project. Disposal.
So we have arranged for a company to be there in real time. Part of the problem we had with the bricks that were removed was that they weren't palletized, and it's an inordinate amount of time for our crews to palletize. So some are palletized, the majority are not. In order to avoid that, for this upcoming project, we're going to have a company on site that expressed interest in the bricks, and they'll take them in real time as we're working on the project.
They don't want extra bricks, though, that aren't palletized?
No, they took some of them.
Also, we had an arborist visit with us yesterday in the village looking at several different trees. The holly trees, they're going to be writing their opinion on what they feel should be done. On the holly trees, the three holly trees, one is on the east side of the building and two are on the south side of the building. And they're really encroaching upon the structural, the above structure of the building. So they don't recommend that we remove them. They do recommend trimming them back so that they're not touching the building. You're still going to get squirrels and stuff like that running up on them. But when we take those trees back, we're going to see what probably is a damaged front vestibule, the top of the entrance of the back side of the building. So we need to be prepared for that because they haven't been touched in years and years and years. And what he did say is that rather than trimming them up, they should have probably kept them low and let them be full and really maintain them a little bit more strategically. But that said, we'll get a final written recommendation, and it would also cost a lot less money to trim them versus take them down. And they don't seem to be interfering with the foundation of the building. Except the one on the east side might be interfering with the septic system. And that's something that we would have to take a look at, potentially, with the bathrooms downstairs and all that, and sometimes the odoriferous residue. So we'll look at that. And he also looked at the trees that are on the north side of the country club building that are growing out of the bluff face, because there's a ton of vines growing around those trees and probably in the process of killing them. So we're getting an estimate on what it would take to remove those vines from around the trees, trim up a tree that looks like it's, dying from underneath, clean it out, clean out the vines, and basically save the trees that are there, because you don't want those trees going anywhere. And the vines are suffocating the trees of sunlight and of water, so. And then they also looked at trees down at Harborfront Park. One tree is a spruce that is on the corner of the ice rink, where there's holiday lights and pink lights, I don't know, all different kinds of lights, but I guess it's been growing up against the rink, the surrounding structure of the rinks, because half the tree is dead and half the tree is alive. And so when you take the structure down, the rink structure down, you really see what that poor tree is suffering. And then there's another tree by the boat shed. So we got 5, 6, 7, 8 trees looked at altogether by the arborist. I think that was it. So we'll get a report and then make some decisions on that. Okay, Trustee Ugrinsky.
Okay. Interestingly enough, the Budget and Finance Committee and the golf course operations are coming together in one report. So when we met last Thursday with the Budget and Finance Committee, we went through a couple of things. We went through a version 0, I'll call it, of the country club budget, and specifically, what would the process look like to get to final rates, in order to have a year where we publish them much earlier than we did last year. And some people don't care, but some people do. It was a little bumpy, let's just say, last year. And so the second part of that meeting was, or just a bit of that, was a review of the financial reporting format that we'd like to institute, particularly now that we are 1/4 of the way through the fiscal year. It's a good time to try that out, and we're going to try that out on Pat and Jake for the country club first, let's see. Yeah, so so I've met now, and now I'll segue sort of to the country club. So I met with Jake Anderson and Pat Sullivan, and they're starting to merge into one person. Yes. And what we did was we talked through the expenditures to date. So we had a really cogent conversation about what line items are spending at a higher rate. And, this is the kind of conversation we want to have with every department. It was very timely because that is essentially one of the two things. The two things are, how are things going for this fiscal, and how are we managing month to month? The pump repair is one example. We took salary away from the pro shop and used it to, do some maintenance on the pump for the irrigation system. That represents to me sort of a shift in, or actually, let me finish that sentence. What we also started looking at is, for next year, what are the things that we have typically ignored because somebody told them there was no budget for it, but should have been done? And like, for those of you who remember the pump replacement we had to do in 2017, like, that was a case of we didn't properly maintain the pump. So I asked them both to provide me a list of everything they would need for next fiscal if they could adequately prepare, right? And so Treasurer Gafka and I went through that list. Those are important inputs to the upcoming rates also. So the things that need to be done now, the things that we'd like to plan for in the future. And then we've spent a little time with the mayor now and walked her through the approach and really started looking at the data in terms of the usage by each of the membership categories. So we're in good shape for a version 1 to be distributed to both the Board of Governors and to the CCMAC, the Country Club Management Advisory Council, and get recommendations back after their review. I expect there will be a couple of iterations. We're going to try to do those quickly because we'd like to vote on those rates at our next meeting. So that implies getting rates into your hands with enough time to review and ask questions, et cetera. So that's the plan on, that's the plan for the rates. So, and the process by which we will get there. The nice thing about starting to talk about what people need in their departments for the next fiscal is the goal here is to get to what I would consider world-class budgeting, which is by the time you do the budget, it's not like you're taking your first look at it. So our financial management and the variance analysis that we're doing on a regular basis now will essentially feed in and enable us to have a budget that's almost done before we even start our budget cycle, right? And I think that'll eliminate a lot of the pressure that we put on people this year to, turn their budgets around, have these budget conversations, which will happen anyway, but I'm hoping that they'll be a little shorter because we'll have put all these things in place. So that's the Budget and Finance Committee and the golf course. Any questions on that?
So when do you think we'll have, when do you think we'll have the rates?
Before our next Board of Trustee meeting.
Okay.
So we can vote on them. But it's a fairly aggressive goal, but we're working towards it.
Good.
So we'll see.
Are we gonna leave in the $300 special assessment in the upcoming budget?
So assessments contain debt and capital leases, and they will continue to do that because it's an accounting thing.
So that's a yes?
I am not going to talk about what they are going to be yet, but there will be an assessment. There's an assessment every year. Now, when will you see the assessment go down? In 3 years, when we've paid off the debt that is represented in that assessment.
Yes, that's the $425 that we pay. But the assessment that was applied in this past year to the course, is that going to continue going forward?
I would argue that capital leases are used by every golfer. And so, but we haven't even given these to the Board of Governors or the CCMAC. So let's let them do their work and then we can talk about it then. Do we want to talk about Beach Street? Oh, okay, so what I wanted to say is, for the Beach Street residents, we heard you. We, we jumped in as soon as we received the petition. Yesterday, there was a meeting with Tilcon. It went very well, and we are now evaluating or exploring ways that situation can be improved or remedied. And we're also going to, as a next step, involve a broader set of stakeholders and organize some meetings. So we don't have a resolution yet or a solution or a remediation plan yet, but we're working towards that. And I appreciate the effort that Trustee Hill put in to get there too. And thank you to the mayor for stepping in for me yesterday.
Do you want me to just add in kind of the
Absolutely,
more?
please.
So the whole issue with the reroute, that's going to be a longer.
That's a
more,
much,
yeah, that's
much
a
longer.
Tall. It's a tall order, but we did get commitments from Tilcon to remind their. So just for clarity's sake, Tilcon has the product. All the trucks that come in are somebody else's company. They're just pickups and or really not deliveries, it's pickups. So they're reminding all their drivers and the folks that they work with to make sure all their trucks are covered. They also swapped out, updated the brushes that they use on their on the street sweeper. So they admitted that the brushes were old and worn, so they have new ones on them now, which will hopefully make the machine more effective. So we'll see, we're gonna have to find out from the residents if they've noticed any difference. But that change has already happened. We'll follow up and see if we had the meeting yesterday or the day before. So we'll follow up and see when those notifications go out, but they were wanting to be good neighbors, and it was a good conversation.
Great. And then the last thing I have to report is I was present at, I represent Port Jefferson at the Brookhaven Battery Energy Storage System Advisory Committee. And we are probably 80% of the way to producing a document that has incorporated guidance from a number of parties, including the school districts were represented, fire, various experts, Brookhaven Town, the fire commissioner was there as well. And, so we are now in the process of drafting a set of recommendations that will go to Brookhaven Town and apply to any proposed battery energy storage systems that are coming up. I think they're pretty comprehensive. We have spent a lot of time from a lot of different directions putting that body of work together. So I look forward to being able to share that with you as soon as it's published.
Thank you. Just a few updates for me in addition to the ones that I just chimed in on throughout the reports. So the BID Business Improvement District has a number of people on there, a number of appointees on their board. And there are, it's legislated how these people are appointed. And the trustees have an appointee. So I'll ask the trustees sitting around the table to kind of put your heads together and see if there is a recommendation for an appointee to the Business Improvement District Board of Directors. It's a legislated body. They are statutorily obligated to make decisions on spending money and those kinds of things. So, if you, again, put your heads together, if you know anybody in the business district that you think would be a great candidate. I think the last person the trustees appointed was Melanie Gonzalez. And that was former Trustee Cassay's recommendation. It's been a great appointment, a great addition to that board. So I can make some recommendations, I think, not right here, but for consideration, but it would be great if it could come organically from one or all four of you.
Um,
And what's the criteria for being sort of put forward?
Someone who owns a business in the district, or owns a building in the district, or, yeah, those are the two
Okay.
for the trustees.
Yeah,
I'll
that's-
get you I can even send you all the bylaws for the Business Improvement District and on this, how it got started, when it got started, how it got started, and also the responsibilities of the Business Improvement District. It's a good partner to the village, and a lot of great things come through. They'll be contributing to the Pacer AI. They purchased meters, parking meters with bid money. So they're very interested in investing in the village, in the commercial aspect of the village. So
Is Melanie staying on the bid, though?
do you know differently?
Oh, no, that's...
Yeah, no, as far as I know.
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
Yes.
gotcha. That's why I was
no.
misunderstanding,
No,
yeah.
no, she was actually appointed, and then the board brought her in as
I
a
see.
director.
Okay,
on
gotcha.
They selected her. So, and I'll send you the list of members and how they got appointed. I'll send you all the background and details. That, on October 1st, Lessings is opening up the Country Club building to the community for an open house to experience the renovations and also the services and the amenities that they provide. So it's 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock, welcoming the community and having cocktails or refreshments and different types of food offerings. So just encouraging that. We'll be helping them promote that to our community and to the country club membership, to encourage attendance. But 5 to 7 o'clock on October 1st is a Wednesday.
I thought it was
5 to 8 o'clock on October 1st. It's a Wednesday night. So come one, come all. You'll see the social media popping up throughout the month. And Saturday is the final East Beach Rocks concert with Regatta. It's a police sting band. It's from 12 to 3. And it's being promoted as kind of a luncheon play. And there's going to be beach games down there. And all are welcome who live and can park in the village parking lot down at the beach. You have to have a parking sticker permit. The flood study that McLean is working on is on track to be completed according to the schedule requirements from FEMA, which is February 1st. So they're on track and moving quickly forward with all of the requirements that they need to fulfill. And we are expecting, we've had the promise from GEI to present a partial plan for the Phase 2. There's been robust discussions between our village engineer and their engineers to figure out what the logical and scientific approach is to this project that addresses a lot of the concerns that have been raised by the CCE, Citizens Commission on Erosion, and also us as a board, and also HADUC as engineering. So looking forward to receiving that. Not holding, I'm not going to put a bet on it or anything, but hopeful to see something on Friday that will help us at least consider next steps and have an actual completed drainage study and topographical survey. I think that's it.
Mayor, may I add one point that I wanted to discuss? I wanted to go back to the Meadow project that we had discussed at the last board meeting. And in the past, it's been represented that the village hasn't spent any money on this project, and that's not accurate, because I have bills now from HADUC that we've spent over $6,000 in engineering on this project without board approval. So my question is, well, several questions, because I think there's puts the village in a liability position where we can, the board and yourself, Mayor, we can have some problems with this project because it's going forward without board approval. I mean, I understand that you stated that you approved it, but for a joint venture like this on municipal property with a third party, that has to be presented to the board and approved by this board. And that wasn't done. So that's the problem that I have with this, and it really puts us in an awkward position as representations have been made that we haven't spent money on this. That's not including the money that was spent utilizing golf course staff to do this project. Now, I mean, I could be wrong, but the golf course is separate from the village. So the maintenance crew on the golf course should be working on the golf course, not on a third-party project.
Trustee, I just want to interrupt there, because if you're going to discuss
Certainly.
potential liability on behalf of the village,
Yes.
it probably should be done in executive session.
I think that's a good idea, because there's no contract, Dave. We have a lot of issues
We're
here.
going to discuss potential liability, which is your concern.
Sure,
And liability means possible legal action.
correct.
We should probably not discuss it here.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Segueing to the next item on the agenda. Do we have a motion to enter into executive session?
At 8:10 PM.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, and you don't get a vote. You don't have a vote.
Aye, and your
Aye.
mic is off.